Chapter 4282. Undying Marquis? This guy actually made a breakthrough? Damn it, he got here before us. He must have obtained some good fortune here. What a lucky bastard. Looking at the high-spirited three-clawed dragon, Gong Huaji and Long Shan were stunned for a moment. Then their expressions changed drastically, and they clenched their teeth and stamped their feet in the command cabin on the top floor of the core flagship. Even the silent elephant fox ferret's expression changed slightly. He frowned and looked unwilling. Compared to the three-clawed dragon, the three of them were not weak at all. Now they were all at the 7th level of the Undying Realm. Nearly 3 years ago, the three-clawed dragon was at the same level, but now, in the blink of an eye, it had made a breakthrough to the 7th level of the Undying Realm. To be conferred the title of Marquis, there was simply nothing more devastating than this. Especially when they thought about how there was a 90% chance that the other party was able to achieve such astonishing achievements because he had entered this unknown void that was rich in resources ahead of time and obtained some kind of great benefits and great fortune. The hearts of 3 people, the unwillingness in their hearts grew stronger in an instant. As this unwillingness spread in their hearts, the 3 of them were instantly filled with resentment. The elephant fox ferret did not say anything. After all, he and the three-clawed dragon shared a common secret, which was that both of them had surrendered to Yi Xian, the Star Master of Sky River Star. Therefore, even though he was full of resentment, he did not dare to say anything. After all, the three-clawed dragon was already a marquis. Even if Yi Xian, the Star Master of Sky River Star, was here, he would not be afraid. Of course, that was if he did not have the restriction of the oath he had made. However, he was different. In the past 3 years, his strength had not improved at all. He had wasted all his time in the endless anxiety of the endless interstellar travel. Under such circumstances, if he annoyed the three-clawed dragon, it could easily expose the fact that he had surrendered to Sky River Star. At that time, the three-clawed dragon would not care, but he would be the one in trouble. However, the elephant fox ferret did not dare to say anything, but it did not mean that Gong Huaji and Long Shan were the same. Don't forget that in the Alliance fleet 40 million miles behind them, there were 3 Marquis Undying Realm Masters. These 3 were from the Wan Luo Federation, the Undying Dynasty, and the 10 Absolute Sky Palace. They were all at level 5 or 6, and any one of them could stun the three-clawed dragon. Even if the 3 Marquis level Undyings were to attack together and combine their auras to lock onto the three-clawed flood dragon, he wouldn't even have the chance to teleport away. Thinking about this, Long Shan and Gong Huaji exchanged a look and immediately came to a tacit agreement. They decided to use words to anger the other party. It would be best to make him speak even more arrogantly and arrogantly to the end. Several officials appeared and worked together to suppress the enemy. Regardless of whether he would be able to obtain any benefits from the other party after suppressing it, at least he would be able to resolve the resentment in his heart. Besides, since the three-clawed flood dragon was able to break through to the Marquis level so quickly, it must have obtained something extraordinary. As long as he could capture creation, he would be able to obtain some important information from him. This thought instantly moved the 2 of them. They ignored the silent elephantine and immediately started provoking him. Three-clawed flood dragon, surrender immediately. Hand over your battleship army and everything related to this void. If you do, I can spare your life today. That's right. You only have 10 breaths of time. Once 10 breaths have passed, everything will be too late. You've just become a marquis, what's the big deal? Let me tell you the truth, our Alliance fleet has 3 mid-level officials, some close to late-level officials. Suppressing you is like crushing an ant. Roar! Crush your mother's old mother. Before Long Shan and Gong Huaji could finish their words, the three-clawed flood dragon roared from thousands of miles away. Do you think your grandpa flood dragon is scared? Don't talk about your bragging, even if there really are 3 of you in the Alliance army behind you. Grandpa Jiao can beat the crap out of them and make them kneel down and call him father. He was truly furious. The captive council had a total of 18 officials who had just broken through. Was it easy to win the lottery? He originally wanted to jump out and show off in front of his old friends. Who would have thought that before he could even find the feeling, he would be scared? He was scared by the enemy's words. If he was truly afraid of him, that would be fine. However, in reality that was far from it. Not to mention that there were only 3 officials in the Alliance fleet. Even if there were 3 emperors, they wouldn't be able to scare him. His backer was an emperor level 8, close to perfection. If there were 3 emperors at the same level, he would be crushed on the spot. Because of this, Facing Long Shantang and Gong Huaji's threats, the three-clawed flood dragon wasn't afraid at all. He even said that he would beat the three officials until they kneeled down and called him father. This was too arrogant. He was only an official level 1, yet he acted like an emperor level 1. He actually said that he would make the three mid-level officials kneel down and call him father. Even an emperor-level official with a good temper wouldn't be able to do such a thing. He couldn't hold it in. At the same time, 3 earth-shattering roars drifted from the joint fleet behind the vanguard fleet. Li, little brat, you just broke through, you even forgot who your father is. Such arrogance, those who don't know would think that you've met an emperor. Since he doesn't have any manners, then we'll teach him how to be a human. No, this guy isn't even human, he's a beast. Teach him how to be a beast. Howl! As the furious roars sounded, 3 beams of light blasted out from the 3 flagship fortresses of the coalition fleet. His speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he had already traversed a distance of more than 40 million kilometers. His figure was extremely fast, and he had already arrived in front of the vanguard fleet led by the Elephant Fox Martin, Long Shantang, and Gong Huaji. The 3 officials were the Crystal Clan warrior Yu Ling Long from the Myriad Luo Federation, the elder Long Mang from the Undying Dynasty, and the last was a vice palace leader from Tianju Palace, named Gong Jun. Yu Ling Long was a crystal life form, and her form was that of a young lady. She had a graceful figure and a graceful bearing. The other 2 were human males. They were from the 2 major camps of the human race, and they looked to be in their 50s. Chapter 4283. With the arrival of the 3 marquee-level Undyings, the space within 100 million miles fell into complete silence. Even the hundreds of millions of warships of various types that were surging close behind the 3-clawed dragons stopped in the void 10 million kilometers away. They closed the engine cabins and waited in silence. It seemed that they were frightened by the sudden arrival of the 3 marquee-level Undyings. Such a scene made Yu Ling Long, Long Ao, and Gong Jun extremely satisfied. They enjoyed the feeling of the space stagnating and the atmosphere instantly becoming heavy and stagnant. Especially after being publicly provoked by an ignorant fellow who had just become a marquis. Little Loach, are you scared silly? Weren't you very arrogant just now? Why are you suddenly so quiet? You must be feeling high after becoming a marquis, right? But you're obviously a bit too excited and forgot your place. Come here and kneel. Facing 3 middle marquee-level Undyings, you should tuck your tail between your legs and beg for mercy. That way, maybe I can choose to forget about your disrespect just now and let you live. In front of them, the 3 marquee-level Undyings sneered and locked onto the 3-clawed flood dragon. Their tone was full of arrogance, and they were obviously slapping the flood dragon's face. This was indeed satisfying. Even the noble marquee-level Undyings were in a good mood now. At their level, it was hard to meet someone who dared to provoke them. Today they finally met one, and these 3 marquee-level Undyings who had long forgotten about this kind of fun unknowingly found the feeling. Their ferocious expressions were full of joy. Facing all this, the 3-clawed flood dragon's expression became weird. It glanced at the 3 middle marquee-level Undyings and said faintly, "Are you guys bullying me with numbers? Ha ha ha. Little Loach, you're quite interesting. You're so quiet now. Compared to your arrogance before, this is quite interesting." That's right. We're bullying you with numbers. What's wrong? You don't like it? The 3 Undyings laughed loudly. They had been high and mighty for a long time, and they hadn't had such fun in a long time. This feeling of being slapped in the face made them feel like they were back to the days before they became Undyings. As they sighed inwardly, their interest was piqued. Although a dignified middle-stage marquis didn't need to overwhelm a beginner marquis with numbers, they still followed the 3-clawed flood dragon's words and admitted this point. It was all because they suddenly felt that today's matter was quite interesting. However, the development of the entire incident was completely different from what they had imagined. It did not develop according to the plot they had expected. It could even be said that there was a complete reversal that no one had expected. It's not good to bully people like this. The 3-clawed flood dragon sighed in the face of the 3 marquee-level Undyings and suddenly changed the topic. But since you guys like it, Grandpa Flood Dragon can only do as the Romans do. Brothers, come out. They're bullying me. I'm alone. The last sentence was uttered by the 3-clawed flood dragon as it raised its head and roared. Howl! See! As his last roar fell, the core flagship fortress of the captive army behind him immediately responded with a series of roars and screams. Over 10 silhouettes rushed out from the core, all of them emitting shocking auras. They were all marquee-level undyings. In the blink of an eye, 17 lights shot out and stood on the left and right of the three-clawed flood dragon. Including him, there were a total of 18 marquee-level undyings, lined up in a row. The void once again fell into a complete silence, but it was only for a very short time. Then, a large wave of gasps and cries of surprise rang out like a tide. My God, what's going on? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Or am I hallucinating? 18 marquee-level undyings. This is too shocking. That's not the main point. Even 18 first-level marquee-level ones can't beat 3 middle-level marquee-level ones. The main point is their cultivation level. Right, they're all new-level marquee-level ones, they obviously just broke through. Of the 18, I can even name half of them. 3 years ago, they were all normal undyings. Fortune. A huge fortune. In this unknown void, there must be some kind of great fortune that we don't know about. It actually allowed these fellows to break through to the titled Marquee realm. As the exclamations resounded, within the Vanguard fleet 10 million miles away, Long Shan Tang and Gong Hua Ji panted heavily. They immediately roared and were extremely excited, impatiently requesting for help. How? We definitely cannot let them go. Seniors, with your strength, even 18 first-level marquee level 1 undyings can be easily suppressed. These fellows hold a shocking secret. The moment we learn about it, our combined fleet strength will greatly increase, and more marquee-level undyings will appear. In fact, there was no need for the two of them to remind him. In front of the Vanguard fleet, when the 18 undyings appeared, Yu Linglong, Long Chong, and Gong Jun were only stunned for a short moment, and then their eyes blazed with passion. Their eyes gleamed brightly. Their reactions were much faster than Gong Huaji and Long Shan Tang, almost instantly realizing the significance of these 18 officials. Howl! Little bastards, you've all been captured. Surrender immediately and tell us the secret, otherwise, we'll kill without mercy. I'll give you 10 breaths of time. After 10 breaths of time, the 18 marquee will be killed every 3 breaths of time until you submit. Hearing these words, Tang Yi and Gong Hua, who were in the core flagship fortress of the Vanguard fleet, instantly became excited. Even the elephant fox Martin, who had always felt that something was wrong, and had never said a word before, was shocked. Even the elephant fox Martin, who had always felt that something was wrong, had never said a word before. He was trembling slightly. After all, this was the temptation of breaking through to the marquee level, he couldn't resist it. Strangely, facing all this, the 18 marquee level 1 lined up 10 million miles away didn't panic at all. It was almost as though they didn't realize that Yu Linglong, Long Chong and Gong Jun were all mid-level undyings, and definitely had the strength to suppress them. Chapter 4284. Roar! Screech! As soon as the three-clawed WM's voice trailed off, a series of thunderous roars and howls instantly rang out in response from the planets in the distance behind them. Then, more than a dozen figures rushed out of the stars and transformed into rays of light. In the blink of an eye, they traversed tens of millions of miles and arrived at the front line where the two armies were facing each other. They stopped abruptly beside the three-clawed flood dragon and the others. Another 16 marquee undyings. 6 of them were from the survivor tribe, and 6 of the 12 tribe leaders of the survivor tribe. They had followed Yi Xian for more than a year, and under the never-ending top-notch flesh and blood medicine, as well as the solid foundation they had in the past, thanks to their solid foundation, 6 of them had already broken through to the marquee level. However, like the three-clawed flood dragon and the others, they were only level 1 marquee level 1 undyings level. The other 10 were the 10 marquee level ferocious beast leaders that Green Ox had taken in the previous battle. Their cultivation levels were uneven. 2 of them were first-order marquee, 3 were third-order marquee, and the other 5 were fourth-order marquee, 1 was fifth-order marquee, and the last 3 were sixth-order marquee. In the blink of an eye, there were 34 marquee-level undyings lined up in a row in the void. This was the total number of marquee-level undyings that Yi Xian had shown on the surface. Among them, the 3 level 6 marquee-level ferocious beast leaders were enough to suppress Yu Linglong, Long Xiao, and Gong Jun. This was what it meant to bully with numbers. Don't you have 3 marquee-level undyings? Sure, I'll gather a team of 30 marquee-level undyings. 10 against 1, I guarantee you'll be crushed. The three-clawed flood dragon didn't say these words, but everyone had already deeply understood what he was thinking. The void fell into complete silence for the third time. The atmosphere was so oppressive that it was far more oppressive than the previous 2 times. Even Yu Linglong, Long Ao, and Gong Jun had their mouths wide open. Their eyes were wide open, and their faces were green. Seeing so many official-level Undyings lined up 10 million miles ahead, at this moment, even the 3 of them suspected that there was something wrong with their eyes, that they were hallucinating. It was too unreal. Even in their dreams, they didn't dare to imagine such a luxurious lineup. But now, it had become a reality. What was worse was that this group of people seemed to be enemies. Just a moment ago, he was still clamoring to bully them with numbers and crush them. As these thoughts flashed through their minds, Yu Linglong, Long Xiang, and Gong Jun could not wait to give themselves a few tight slaps. Unfortunately, it was too late for regrets. The other party's lineup had already been assembled. If nothing unexpected happened, what would happen next would be the miserable scene of 10 people bullying one person. Everyone, there's a misunderstanding here. Yes, don't be impulsive. Impulsiveness is the devil. Actually, we're here to visit. Since you don't welcome us, we'll just leave. Swallowing their saliva, the 3 officials from the Alliance fleet spat out those words and turned to leave. They were obviously trying to leave this terrifying space before the battle started. Hong Long. At the same time, the vanguard fleet behind the 3 of them, as well as the entire huge joint fleet 40 million miles behind them, instantly resonated with a deafening roar as if they had agreed upon it. All the battleships turned on their kinetic energy cabins at this moment, and they didn't even need to turn around. All the battleships kept their original direction and retreated madly. The vanguard fleet led by Elephant Fox Ferret, Dragon Mountain Tang, and Gong Huaji was not a big deal, but they were still more than 40 million miles away from the enormous light screen through which they came. It was impossible for them to escape in a short time. However, Yu Linglong, Long Xiang, Gong Jun, and the entire Alliance fleet behind them were different. The 3 of them were all official-level Undyings, and they could reach the rear in an instant. Once they rushed into the black hole, the chances of them successfully escaping would skyrocket. Secondly, there was the coalition fleet in the rear. The entire coalition fleet was only 5 million kilometers away from the black hole. If they were to perform a space jump, many warships would probably be able to rush into the black hole in the chaos. Seeing this, the 3-clawed flood dragon rolled his eyes. The 3 official-level Undyings who were retreating had really disappointed him. Who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, he had turned into a coward? He didn't even dare to say a single harsh word. He directly wanted to lead the entire Alliance fleet back into the black hole that they had come from. Go. If they really managed to escape, wouldn't that be too shameful? This was a rare opportunity for him to show his face, and he couldn't screw it up. However, even if he and the 30 officials around him were to attack at the same time, even though they were able to stop the vanguard and even the entire Alliance fleet close to the black hole, these 3 officials were all level 5 and level 6. There were too many of them. They wanted to escape. If they were really allowed to enter the black hole, they would immediately use teleportation as soon as they charged in. Perhaps only the violent ape would be able to chase after them one by one. This was definitely not the result the 3-clawed flood dragon wanted. After going through so much trouble, he still had to alarm the big boss. This was too much of a failure. Thinking of this, his face suddenly showed an angry expression. He turned his head and yelled at the void behind him again. "Niu Er Wang, if you don't make a move, I will mess up this battle. It doesn't matter if you lose my face, but close it. I'll make a fool of myself." The so-called bull or great king was naturally referring to Green Bull. Now, in the forbidden land of Phoenix blood, other than Yi Xian, he was the second Undying's emperor. The title of 2 Great Kings was well-deserved. In fact, this was in line with Green Bull's personality. It was simply a stroke of genius. Yi Xian didn't interfere with this and left it to Green Bull. Green Bull was the one who gave the 3-clawed flood dragon battle orders and reminded him of some matters. Therefore, at this moment, the 3-clawed flood dragon's first thought was Green Bull. It was impossible for him to ask Yi Xian for help. You want to leave as soon as you arrive? What do you think my forbidden land of Phoenix blood is? Just as the 3-clawed flood dragon finished speaking, in the end of the void far behind, in a certain planet, a shocking moo suddenly rang out, followed by the extremely arrogant voice of the green ox, which was almost disdainful. This guy wasn't much better than the 3-clawed flood dragon. Not only did he call himself a king, But he also said that the forbidden land of Phoenix blood was his. This was simply shameless. In order to show off, he didn't even care about his reputation. Chapter 4285. When the three-clawed flood dragon turned its head again and called out like before, Yuling Long, Long Xiao, and Gong Jun, who were running away, realized that something was wrong. Their hearts skipped a beat, and the three of them had an extremely bad premonition. Especially when they heard the three-clawed flood dragon call out the name Bull Air King, their expressions changed almost instantly. To be called a king by an official level undying, even if it was only the second king, what else could it be other than an emperor level undying? Just as this thought surfaced in his mind, the mooing of the green ox came from the distant void behind them, accompanied by an incomparably majestic and powerful aura. In an instant, the three of them, including the entire group that was charging towards the black hole in front of them, were stopped. This alliance fleet had all locked onto them. With the space sealed, even an official level undying felt like they were in a swamp. Their movements became extremely slow, and teleportation was out of the question. They completely lost the ability to use it again. The next moment, Yuling Long, Long Xiao, and Gong Jun, who had stopped in the space, took in a deep breath. When they subconsciously turned their heads to look, they exclaimed, "Emperor level undying? That's impossible. Damn it, we've mistakenly entered a dangerous place. Emperor level? How can there be an emperor level undying here? What should we do?" With the space sealed, this is definitely the power of an emperor level undying. We're done for. Moo. Yuling Long and the others had just finished exclaiming when the mooing sound of a cow resounded once more from the distant end of the void behind them. Under the flash of a dark light, an enormous green cow that was 300,000 meters in size was charging over from afar, and its body was suffused with a powerful aura. Its aura made the space pale in comparison. At this instant, everything in the heavens and the earth seemed to have become a contrast, and only this enormous azure ox drew the converging gazes of countless people. Emperor level. In the core flagship fortress of the Vanguard fleet, the elephant fox Mink's eyes were in a daze. He murmured with endless envy. He felt that although this green bull was an emperor level undying, it was the same as the three-clawed flood dragon. In other words, this emperor level green bull was just an official level undying not long ago. But now, the breakthrough of a minor level had caused his level to instantly change. The difference between being conferred the title of Marquis and King was like the abyss of the heavens. There was an invisible chasm that spanned across, and there might not be one in 100 that could smoothly advance. This green bull was too lucky. Thinking of this, the elephant fox ferret suddenly thought of the heavenly river star master, Yi Xian, and couldn't help but faintly sigh. Sigh, how good would it be if that big shot also entered this unknown starry sky? With his heaven-defying luck, he represented the great fortune of the current world. In this world, he would have soared to the sky. What a pity that he stayed on Sky River Planet and never came. In the end, the elephantine ferret sighed again, feeling a little dispirited. I am the Bull Demon King, so my temper is definitely not very good. I'll give you 3 breaths of time. Either submit or die. In the blink of an eye, the Azure Bull had already arrived 500 kilometers ahead, and it stood in the sky before the 30-plus marquises while looking down upon everything. The supreme might it emitted caused Yuling Long, Long Xing, and Gong Jun to be dazed, and their expressions had completely dimmed down. The 3 names of Bull Demon King had indeed frightened Yuling Long and the other 2. This name was very evil. Just by hearing it, one could tell that it was not to be trifled with. If they tried to struggle in vain, they might be trampled to death. Behind them, the group of officials had strange expressions. They all turned to look at each other. This was the first time they heard the name Bull Demon King. Obviously, the green bull had just given it to himself. Although it was just a name and not a big deal, but this name was clearly incompatible with his personality. The three-clawed flood dragon was the most depressed. He could see that this old bull was probably waiting for him to ask for help. Due to the order of Bao Yuan, he could not take the initiative to jump out, but in fact, this old guy was just like him. He also wanted to show off a little. After all, he had just been crowned king, so it was inevitable that he would be a little excited. However, he was very lucky. It took him a lot of effort to draw a lot and stand out among the 18 officials. This old guy was too shameless. He just waited for him to ask for help and then rushed out at the first moment. The most important thing was that as soon as he appeared, he stole all the limelight. He even called himself Bull Demon King. How disgusting. You still have 1 breath of time. 2 breaths of time passed in a flash. Just as the 3-clawed flood dragon was feeling depressed, the green bull in front of him roared again. Outsiders, my temper is not very good. When I get angry, even I am afraid of myself. Think carefully. Moo. The last moo caused Yu Linglong, Long Xiang, and Gong Jun to tremble in fear. The countless experts in the Alliance fleet were also trembling. This was a real king. His demonic nature was too strong, and his ferocity was monstrous. When he got angry, even they were afraid of him. They knew that he was an incomparably cruel tyrant. Living under such a person was simply like living with a tiger. They would not have a good day. However, the situation was so urgent. If they did not lower their heads, they would immediately die. This was simply King Dog. Were they destined to be so miserable? Bull 2. Just as everyone was trembling in fear, a violent roar came from the end of the void in front of them. Its power was astonishing, and it was even stronger than this tyrant who called himself Bull Demon King. Sigh, the green bull subconsciously replied, then jumped up and roared, Who is it? Who the F***ck is calling this King Bull 2? How can there be such a big shot? He had just finished speaking halfway when he turned around and saw the figure that was walking over. The green bull's entire body trembled, and he immediately recalled his true identity as if he had returned to his senses. In the next instant, the ruthless aura that surged out from his body was like a spring breeze that transformed into rain, and it silently vanished without a trace. With a swing of his tail, he eagerly charged towards the starry sky ferocious ape that was striding over from behind him. That bouncing gait and the swinging tail behind him. No matter how one looked at it, it gave others the feeling of being happy and fawning. This scene stunned Yu Linglong and the other 2, as well as the experts of the current era in the entire joint fleet. What happened to the Bull Demon King? What happened to the tyrant? Why did he become so obedient in the blink of an eye? After being stunned for a few seconds, the faces of Yu Linglong and the others darkened, and they completely understood. As they turned to look at each other, low murmurs sounded out from their mouths. Bull 2? No wonder the 3-clawed flood dragon called him King 2 earlier. After all this fuss, it turns out that he was just pretending. Chapter 4286. Welcome to the forbidden land of Phoenix blood, everyone. Striding forward, Yi Xian soon arrived in front of the 3-clawed serpent dragon and the rest of the conferred marquises. He stood still but did not make a move, a smile on his face, and even his tone was immeasurably gentle. It was completely different from the temperament of a cosmic berserk ape. Judging from your warships, you must have come from the 3 main planes of the cosmos, right? A group of such foreign guests had already arrived before. Speaking of which, it's fate. To think that you and I would meet despite being so far apart from each other, this is fate. At those words, the 3-clawed serpent dragon and the rest of the captive council's upper echelons immediately had weird expressions, exchanging glances and muttering to themselves. Fate my ass. Even if there was fate, it was the fate of being captured. Of course, those were just casual mutterings. When they thought about the benefits they had now, it would be worth it even if they were enslaved, let alone captured. Still, the scene before them clearly did not match this big boss's style. He must be up to something else. At that thought, the 3-clawed serpent dragon and the others looked at Yu Linglong, Long Xing, and Gong Jun in the void before them with a hint of sympathy in their eyes. In truth, those 3 fellows were currently in a daze. The cosmic berserk ape before them was clearly the true master of the forbidden land of Phoenix blood. That much could be seen from the fact that the second great king who had just called himself the Bull Demon King was now standing behind it submissively, its tail wagging as if trying to curry favor. One could tell a thing or two just by swinging its tail around. Its cultivation ability also proved that point. It was actually a second-tier emperor. While it was still an early-tier emperor, it was at least a lot stronger than the second great king who had just entered that tier. Still, this cosmic berserk ape's temperament was very cultured, which was not at all like the other species. Still, that was normal since it was now a king and would have higher aspirations. How could it still be like an ordinary cosmic berserk ape? Move. Roar like thunder? No wonder the 3-clawed serpent dragon and the others were doing so well here, running into a feral king ruled by benevolence. Thinking like this, Yu Linglong, Long Yang, and Gong Jun secretly heaved a sigh of relief, and their hearts that had been in their throats for a long time instantly fell by half. Even the three-clawed flood dragon and the others could make a name for themselves here. They were in the middle stage of the Marquis realm and were close to the late stage of the Marquis realm. Naturally, there would be no problem. Senior, you're too polite. We are indeed from the three main starry skies. Among all the races in the world, the human race is the most powerful. We are from the two main camps of the human race and the Myriad Net Federation, which has almost unified the three main planes. If you have the chance, Senior can go to the third universe of the three great planes. The two great human camps would welcome you with open arms. There are also kings and even emperors in the two great camps. When the time comes, they can interact with Senior and verify each other's DAS. It must be something to be happy about. Relieved, Yu Linglong and the others immediately cupped their hands at Yi Xian and exchanged a few polite pleasantries. They even subtly revealed their backgrounds and the strength of the camps behind them. Finally, Yu Linglong from the Myriad Net Federation smiled and nodded, saying to Yi Xian, "However, we still have important matters to attend to, so we can't stay here and disturb you. Senior, please go back. We will enter the black hole and begin our return journey." Senior, I wonder if you can ask the Great Ox, Second Great King, to remove the restriction on this void? That was what the three of them were thinking. Although the starry sky violent ape in front of him looked harmless, it was still a titled emperor after all. Beside it was the green cow, who did not seem very safe and reliable, and was also a titled emperor. These were two emperors, and no matter how polite they were, it was like walking on thin ice. What they wanted the most now was to leave immediately. I originally wanted to have a good chat with all of you, but since I have important matters to attend to, I naturally can't ask you to stay. Everyone, take care. Second Great King, remove the seal. As he spoke, Yi Xian had already turned his head to look at the green ox. As he spoke, the green ox was dumbfounded, while Yu Linglong and the other two in the air were overjoyed. Originally, they were still a little apprehensive, but now they had completely fallen. They were going down. At the same time, Yi Xian's gaze swept across the space in the distance, and he was stunned. He immediately exclaimed, Why? Is there one less life star over there? Getting. Hearing him mention the life star that had just been blasted into pieces, Yu Linglong, Long Xiang, and Gong Jun paled. Their hearts sank to the bottom of their stomachs. As a second-order emperor, how could he not know what had just happened? Seeing his polite appearance, they thought he was a cultured space-raging ape. Who would have thought that they would meet a smiling tiger after such a long time? Thinking of this, the three of them, who had just relaxed, immediately raised their hearts to their throats. After looking at each other for a while, Long Yang carefully probed and said apologetically, "Senior, that life star. Hee, I'm really sorry, the warship misfired just now and accidentally blew it away. Don't be angry, we were in the wrong first, but the mistake has been made, we can compensate." Misfired? Millions of warships misfired together? Yi Xian nodded. His face was still calm, and he didn't show any signs of getting angry on the spot. He even shook his head and sighed. "Looks like the quality of your battleship is worrying. It's just a life star, so what if it's gone? But this is a public resource after all, belonging to a forbidden area. It's public property, so I can't be too generous. How about this? There's no need to compensate. Besides, life stars are priceless. If you really want to compensate, you won't be able to afford it. If that's the case, why don't you leave the entire fleet behind and let them join my captive army temporarily? In the future you can fight with me in the void space and take over 1,000 life stars with interest so we can call it even. Everyone, what do you think? What do you think?" Pang pang. Just as Yi Xian finished speaking, the expressions of Yu Linglong and the other two abruptly changed. They were so shocked that they almost fell to the ground on the spot. So, he had to take over 1,000 life stars with interest before he could call it even? Damn. This man was too black-hearted. He was even more shameless than the heavenly river planet Star-Lord, Yi Xian. To extort him to such an extent, even the most notorious pirate gang in the three main planes of the universe was far inferior to him. Didn't he just destroy a life star? He actually wanted to leave the entire fleet of more than 30 million people behind, including the three Undyings, in the captive army. This was clearly the rhythm of forcing women into prostitution and selling themselves as slaves. Captive army? Chapter 4287. When Yi Xian changed the topic, Green Ox, three-clawed flood dragon, and the others had already guessed what he was going to say next. Their faces were all filled with sympathy as they looked at Yu Linglong and the other two. In the next moment, both sides exchanged glances. The three-clawed flood dragon and the other marquee elders from the captive council were first stunned. Then their faces were quickly filled with awkwardness. This time they were really exposed. The captive army had ruined everything. It looked like they couldn't pretend today. Senior, this matter. Is there no room for discussion? After a short silence, Yu Linglong, Long Ao, and Gong Jun exchanged glances. The former spoke again and carefully said, "Although the stars are priceless, they are already destroyed. We can try our best to compensate, and we will definitely satisfy Senior." Moo. Boss, these three old fellows don't seem to understand the situation. How can we have so much time to talk nonsense with them? Without waiting for Yi Xian to express his opinion, Green Ox behind him had already raised his head and mooed angrily. His eyes flashed with excitement as he said patiently, "In Old Ox's opinion, why don't we just give them some flesh medicine and push their strength to the peak of Marquee level 9 first? Fill it up, then give each of them a treasure pill to help them break through to the Emperor level." Before he finished speaking, the void had already fallen into dead silence again. Other than Yi Xian, who understood Green Ox's meaning and shook his head with a bitter smile, everyone else was dumbfounded. Their faces were filled with shock. Especially Yu Linglong, Long Ao, and Gong Jun. At this moment, their minds were completely blank, and their heads were buzzing. Weren't they talking about compensation? How did the situation change so drastically in the blink of an eye? Compensation became giving benefits. And these benefits sounded so shocking. What kind of flesh medicine could they use to push their strength to the Emperor level? Marquee level 9 perfection? This wasn't the main point. What was more shocking was that from the green cow's words, this space berserk ape seemed to have some sort of treasure pill that could allow a level 9 official level Undying to break through to Emperor level. Yu Linglong, Long Xiao, and Gong Jun all came from the three main space planes, so they naturally knew about the gene cultivation fluid. In terms of effect, the treasure pill mentioned by the Green Ox was obviously the same as the gene cultivation fluid of the human race. However, a gene cultivation fluid that could allow an Marquee immortal to directly break through to the Emperor-conferred realm was a level 22 gene cultivation fluid. Even the Heavenly River Star Master, Yi Xian, who was known as the master of both medicine and tools, would be scared just by hearing about it. Not to mention concocting it. If this space berserk ape in front of them really had such a treasure pill, it wouldn't be a big deal even if it became his slave, let alone being controlled by him. Thinking of this, Yu Linglong and the other two exchanged a look again, and a flash of inspiration flashed through their minds. They subconsciously turned their heads together and looked at the three-clawed flood dragon and the other dozen or so elders who were also from the three great starry sky main planes like them. They all looked over. They gasped and exclaimed softly, "Three-clawed dragon, your cultivation. Could it be that all of you swallowed this treasure pill and successfully broke through to Marquee level? How is this possible? How can there be such a treasure pill in this world? It's unbelievable. In less than 3 years it would be fine if only 1 or 2 guys broke through to Marquee level, but these guys all broke through. This was definitely not normal. They already had doubts in their hearts, and now they heard about the treasure pill from the Green Ox. As for the matter of the pills, he naturally came to a realization and made such a guess. Moo. It's not just them. Even I have just broken through to the Regal Emperor realm not long ago. It's all because I swallowed a Regal Emperor pill. The Green Ox looked up again, his eyes gleaming as he glanced at Yu Linglong and the other two. The 3 of you are already level 5 or 6 Marquee level 5 or 6, with only 3 or 4 more small breakthroughs to reach level 9 perfection. At that time, I'll give each of you an Emperor treasure pill to help you break through to Emperor level, and then I'll take your blood and essence to make Emperor blood essence. This way, you'll have 7 Emperor blood essences in your hands. Just 3 more and you'll be able to make the Emperor blood essence. Emperor treasure pill. What he meant was that he was going to use Yu Linglong and the other 2 as raw materials for the Emperor blood essence, and when they broke through to Emperor level, he would harvest the blood essence. Yi Xian had already guessed this, but the 3-clawed flood dragon and the others weren't. At this moment, they were all shocked and turned their heads to look at Yi Xian. It was obvious that fear arose in their hearts, afraid that Yi Xian had the same intentions towards them. After all, from a certain point of view, compared to Yu Linglong, Long Xing, and Gong Jun, the 3-clawed flood dragon and the others weren't that close to Yi Xian. They were also captives not long ago. As for Yu Linglong and the other two, they sucked in a breath of cold air once again. At the same time, a chill ran down their backs, and the shock on their faces became even more intense. At this moment, they were both shocked and happy. Shocked that the other party was planning to use them as raw materials, and harvest them after they were fattened up. He was happy that the violent star ape in front of him had such a shocking ability. It could even refine a treasure pellet that could help a peak 9th Order king break through to the Emperor realm. Moreover, from the meaning of the Green Ox's words, it seemed that refining this kind of Emperor bestowment pill required 10 pieces of king blood essence, and the other party actually had 4 pieces in his hands. In other words, excluding the Green Ox that had just broken through to the Emperor bestowment realm not long ago, this Emperor level 2 Space Berserk ape had already killed 4 emperors of the same level before. Hence, its true battle power was probably far from what a second-level emperor could compare to. It was at least a mid-level emperor-level battle power. With the cultivation strength of the 3 of them, even if they were to face the green cow who was only at the first level of the titled king, they would not have the slightest chance of winning, let alone a titled king violent ape with a mid-stage battle strength. Thinking of this, Yu Linglong and the other 2 looked at each other again, and their faces were ashen as they fell into endless despair. You only have 1 year. After 1 year, the old ox and I will leave the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood to do something, and we may not return in a short period of time. Yi Xian speechlessly glared at the green ox before continuing. Within a year, no matter who it is, as long as they can push their cultivation to the peak of the 9th stage of the conferred marquee, this king will bestow a conferred king treasure pill to help you break through to the conferred king realm. Emperor level. But the goal isn't to harvest flesh and blood, but to guard the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood while I'm away, protecting this star field. After he finished, Yu Linglong, Long Jiang, and Gong Jun's eyes lit up, and they subconsciously turned to look at the group of undyings behind Yi Xian and the green ox. Their eyes were filled with excitement, and they couldn't hide it at all. Chapter 4288. I do need the blood essence to concoct the Emperor treasure pill. Seeing that Yu Linglong, Long Xing, and Gong Jun were moved, Yi Xian's expression remained indifferent as he continued. A cauldron of Emperor's treasure pills requires at least 10 king blood essences to refine. The Emperor's treasure pills that come out of the cauldron are from 2 to 3. Right now, although I only have 4 regal elixirs, I am still a distance away from reaching the peak of the rank 9 regal realm. In this boundless space, there are countless mid-level forbidden areas. There are plenty of opportunities to kill regal elixirs. As long as you are sincere in surrendering, I won't harm my own subordinates for a few drops of blood essence. However, if you are two-faced, then it's a different story. According to the rules of my army, you have just joined the captive army and have not done anything yet. You do not have the right to get the Emperor treasure pill. However, this is a special situation. 1 year later, this king and old bull have to travel far away and go to other middle-level starry sky forbidden lands to hunt down king-ranked existences. As the rear base camp, the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood cannot be without a king-ranked existence. Even if 1 or 2 just enter the Emperor treasure pill, it is far from enough. So as long as you can break through to the 9th level of the conferred marquee realm within a year, this king can make the decision to reward you with an imperial bestowment pill to help you break through to the conferred marquee realm. In the future, when you make contributions to the conferred marquee realm, this king can deduct it from your battle achievements. Yes. As he said this, Yi Xian turned to look at the 30 over marquises behind him. Among you, there are 3 6th level marquises, 1 5th level marquis and 1 4th level marquis. All of you have a chance to reach the peak of the 9th level within a year. Now, go into closed-door cultivation. 1 year later, we will all come out together. Xiao. Xiao xiao xiao. In the end, Yi Xian waved his hand and took out half of the purple gold top-grade flesh and blood medicine that he kept in his undying world. He split it into 34 portions and shot them towards the 34 seals that included Yu Linglong, Long Xing, and Gong Jun Marquis Immortal. This aura. SSS. What a strong energy aura. Could this be the flesh medicine that Niu Erwang was talking about? No wonder the 3-clawed flood dragon and the others could all break through to the Marquee realm in less than 3 years. Apart from the help of the Marquee realm pellet, the effect of this top-grade flesh medicine is equally shocking. Thank you, my lord, for your reward. Facing the purple gold top-grade flesh medicine, Yu Linglong, Long Xiang, and Gong Jun's expressions changed drastically. They all sucked in cold breaths. At the same time, their eyes flickered, and their hearts palpitated. They were all marquis, and at the middle or peak of this realm. Naturally, they could see the value of the flesh medicine. With such a huge amount, it was indeed possible for them to break through to peak level 9 Undying within a year. In that case, there was no doubt that he would become a conferred king in a year's time. In the face of such temptation, Yu Linglong and the other two finally accepted their fate. After receiving the flesh medicine that was shot at them, they cupped their fists and bowed to Yi Xian, greeting him as their master. Go, there's only 1 year left. It'll depend on your luck. Yi Xian waved his hand and turned around to walk towards the huge star he came from. As for the 30 million battleships behind, the 3-clawed flood dragon will be in charge of receiving them. They'll be assigned to the captive army. First, we'll distribute some flesh to the army. The great medicine will be deducted from your battle merits in the future. My lord, this old Martin has something to say. As soon as Yi Xian finished speaking, a figure rushed out from the vanguard fleet behind Yu Linglong, Long Xiang and Gong Jun. It was the elephant fox Martin. The old fellow's eyes flickered. He was only an ordinary Undying level warrior, so he didn't have the right to speak in this situation. However, he unexpectedly rushed out of the vanguard fleet's flagship fortress and appeared in the void space, staring at Yi Xian. His back was getting further and further away. What's the matter? The space berserk ape paused and turned around. Its eyes flashed, but its face was expressionless. Its tone was very calm, and there was even a tinge of displeasure. Yu Linglong, Long Xiang, and Gong Jun immediately became nervous, especially Yu Linglong, who was also from the Wan Luo Federation but was an Undying level marquis. Her face was covered with frost. Although the elephant fox Martin was an Undying level Undying, facing this king-rank space berserk ape, even a mid-level marquis like them could only hold their breath. Yet, he rushed out and shouted. This was definitely an offensive action. This old Martin has some suggestions to report. However, this matter is confidential. Why don't we discuss it in private, my lord? The elephant fox Martin obviously felt the displeasure in Yi Xian's words. His heart trembled, and his body trembled. However, in the end, he chose to believe in his own judgment and guess. He gritted his teeth and said, "It's best to bring the 3-clawed flood dragon with us. Flood dragon. He and I will report to the master together." Yi Xian's eyes gleamed once more as he sighed inwardly. This fellow was indeed worthy of being a mutant with the bloodline of the treasure-seeking Martin. The truth that even an emperor-level Undying couldn't see through was actually seen through by him. Thinking of this, Yi Xian suddenly had an idea. He nodded subconsciously. If that's the case, then the two of you, come at me. As soon as he finished speaking, he didn't stay here any longer. His figure vanished with a flash, and he entered the enormous star that belonged solely to Yi Xian, a star that even the Azurox didn't dare to enter. The space fell into a deathly silence once more. The only difference was that this time, all the gazes converged onto the elephantine mink, and after a short pause, they simultaneously moved onto the 3-clawed flood dragon. The elephantine's eyes lit up. Yi Xian's reaction confirmed his guess. He grinned and turned to look at the 3-clawed flood dragon. "Brother, let's go. Don't keep the master waiting." The latter was confused and at a loss. He subconsciously asked, "Old fellow, what are you up to?" Hee. Isn't the master going out to hunt in a year's time? Naturally, he'll be looking for treasures at the same time. Don't forget, I have 1/3 of the blood of the treasure-seeking Martin in me. Licking the corner of his mouth, the elephantine mink's figure flashed, and he shot toward the enormous star that Yi Xian was guarding. I intend to recommend myself, but to convince the master, I'll need an acquaintance to speak for me. The two of us have an acquaintance. We've met a few times before, so of course it's you. These words were naturally said for the others to hear, so as to avoid arousing suspicion. However, the 3-clawed flood dragon clearly believed it. It curled its lips upon hearing this, and its face was filled with disdain and disapproval. However, it did not delay for too long. That big boss had already said that it could go with the elephant fox ferret. Even if it was unwilling, even if he didn't want to, he had to make a trip. Thinking of this, the 3-clawed flood dragon no longer hesitated. His figure flashed, and he immediately followed the elephantine mink, not daring to delay at all. Whoosh! Whoosh! Chapter 4289. Inside the star, on the tallest mountain peak, the space-violent ape sat cross-legged on the peak with its eyes closed. Its aura was restrained, but there was an invisible majestic aura that could not be offended that spread out, making people not dare to look at it. Xiao! Xiao! Two weak sounds of breaking through the air rang out. The elephant fox ferret and the three-clawed dragon, one after the other, passed through the atmosphere of the star and entered the star. They turned their heads and took a few glances, then shot straight towards the towering mountain peak where Yi Xian was. Congratulations, boss. You're really mysterious. I didn't expect to see you here, and you've even entered the titled Emperor realm. As his figure landed on the peak, the elephantine immediately walked forward with a face full of smiles. As he spoke, he repeatedly cupped his hands towards Yi Xian. He didn't look like he needed an acquaintance to help him speak. He was clearly sitting cross-legged in front of him. The rhythm of the space-violent ape was extremely familiar. In addition to the meaning of his words, the three-clawed dragon was instantly stunned. Hiss! Taking in a cold breath, the three-clawed dragon's mind flashed with a light. He immediately understood and exclaimed in shock, "Old ferret, you mean he?" The bloodline of the treasure-seeking ferret is indeed worthy of its reputation. Even the emperors couldn't see through it. I didn't expect you to be able to smell it. Your nose is comparable to a dog's. Without waiting for the elephant fox ferret to explain, Yi Xian had already opened his eyes. The words from his mouth undoubtedly confirmed the former's guess. It made his heart relax, and the smile on his face became even wider. He cupped his hands again and smiled. "Leader, you flatter me. If you really want to talk about it, the dog's nose is not as good as mine." With this conversation, no matter how slow the three-clawed dragon was, he understood what had happened. His face immediately revealed a look of ecstasy. He rushed to the front of the elephant fox ferret and sized up Yi Xian from head to toe. He was extremely happy. "Leader? You are the leader? Heavens, this joke is really too big. The conferred king violent ape that has followed me for so long is actually this flood dragon's leader?" Before he could finish speaking, Yi Xian had already deactivated the 9 devil ape transformations bloodline ability and restored his original appearance. At this point, everything was beyond question. No matter if it was the three-clawed flood dragon or the elephant fox mink, all of them were extremely delighted, and they simply danced with joy. Although they were all immortal realm-old monsters, and even the three-clawed flood dragon had just broken through to the Marquee realm, in this vast and boundless fragment of the world, their cultivation was not enough, even for the three-clawed flood dragon. Because they belonged to the kind of people who could only tuck their tails between their legs. As for the weaker normal undying elephant fox ferret, there was no need to even mention him. For example, in that situation just now, he didn't even have the right to speak. It could be said that when they were here, they were all extremely cautious, as if they were treading on thin ice. But now it was completely different. With Yi Xian as her backing, what was there to be afraid of? Not only would he not have to worry about his own safety, but his cultivation would also continue to soar as long as he reached the great circle of the 9th step. Once they reached the 9th level of the 9th level, they would immediately be able to apply for a corresponding treasure pill from the leader. Everyone was on the same side, so this was definitely not a problem. This Star Master's identity is not to be leaked out for the time being. With a faint smile, Yi Xian turned to look at the three-clawed flood dragon and continued, "You have just broken through to the Marquee realm, so you don't need the conferred king treasure pill. However, this Star Master will be going on a long journey in a year, and I'm afraid I won't be back in a short period of time. Keep this conferred king treasure pill first. Don't spread the news." Xiao. Xiao. With that, 2 treasure pills were shot out by him. One conferred king treasure pill flew towards the three-clawed flood dragon, while the other was Marquee treasure pill, but it flew towards the elephant fox ferret. As the 2 treasure pills were sent out, Yi Xian turned to look at the elephant fox ferret. "A year later, you will go on an expedition with this Star Master. However, looking at your current cultivation and strength, it is indeed a bit too weak. Within this year, you must break through to the Marquee realm." "Marquee realm? Boss, are you really going to search for treasures?" After receiving the conferred king treasure pill and carefully keeping it, the elephant fox ferret's eyes shone brightly as it looked at Yi Xian. It raised its hand and patted its chest loudly. "Boss, don't worry. This old ferret doesn't dare to boast about other things, but I'm looking for treasures. When it comes to treasures, if this old ferret claims to be number 2, no one would dare to boast that they are number 1. Huh. I wonder what kind of place the boss is going to search for? I don't have a definite destination. I'm just exploring along the way. Right now, what this Star Master needs the most is cultivation resources that can allow the 4 great battle clans to evolve quickly. With that, Yi Xian waved his hand again. Following that, the 4 great battle clans appeared from within his undying world. In an instant, densely packed low buzzing sounds could be heard from all around the star. Previously, Yi Xian had spread the wind within the star, scattering in all directions. After sensing the aura of the battle clans, the 4 great battle clans all flew over. Void Soldier Ladle, Blood Mosquito Beast, Slime, Weeping Soul Ape. Any one of the 4 great kinetic races had a population of tens of millions, and their cultivations weren't weak. Although it was meaningless compared to the current Yi Xian, if they were placed in the 3 main planes of the Starry Sky Realm, they wouldn't be able to do anything. That was definitely not the case. Gulp, gulp! At the side, the 3-clawed flood dragon and the elephant fox ferret were already dumbfounded as they subconsciously swallowed their saliva. After a while, Yi Xian put away the 4 great battle clans and waved his hand to disperse all the battle clans. After each of them went into seclusion within the star to break through, the 2 of them finally regained their senses. Boss, this old ferret has already memorized the aura and characteristics of these 4 great battle clans. Turning to look at Yi Xian, the elephant fox ferret nodded mechanically. To be honest, cultivation resources suitable for these 4 bloodlines to break through quickly are really not common. However, as long as it does exist in this void, it will definitely not escape this old ferret's nose. Zai sensing, once we get close to a certain range, we will definitely be able to detect it immediately. Apart from the cultivation resources of the 4 great battle clans to improve their cultivation and evolve their bloodlines, the various minerals used to transform and upgrade the 4 great battle clans are also within the target of this exploration. Nodding, Yi Xian waved his hand and shot out a ray of light. In the blink of an eye, it entered the space between the elephant fox ferret's eyebrows and disappeared. These are the required minerals that this Star Lord has deduced. Apart from them, the characteristics of the structure of the 4 great battle clans and the power of the field. The general profoundness of the battle clans is also included. When the time comes, if you encounter any suitable minerals along the way, just remember to pay more attention. After saying that, Yi Xian's figure flashed and disappeared from the peak of the towering mountain. However, his voice still lingered in the air. Go into seclusion immediately. There's still a year's time. Try your best to raise your cultivation and strength as much as you can in this 1 year. If there is nothing important, don't disturb me again. This Star Lord's cultivation also needs to improve. Chapter 4290. After the 3-clawed flood dragon and the elephant fox ferret left, Yi Xian appeared in the depths of a giant canyon within the star. He was still in his human form, sitting cross-legged in the central region of the canyon. Xiao! Xiao xiao xiao. With a wave of his hand, there was a faint sound of air breaking. A large amount of training resources were taken out from the undying world in his body. They were all top-grade items, and any one of them would cause a huge commotion in the outside world. Even emperors would be envious of them. Purple gold top-grade flesh medicine. All evil origin liquid. And all sorts of rare top-grade precious materials and medicines. There was even a large piece of quasi-primordial lifeform's precious blood and precious flesh. It was roasted into a golden color by the Shenong 7-colored flame. It was so ripe that oil oozed out, and its aroma filled the air. All of these were training resources that Yi Xian had prepared for this breakthrough. With a thought, the power of the Shenong Cauldron's domain was activated by Yi Xian. He prepared all the cultivation resources in front of him, and under the suppression of the treasured cauldron's domain, it turned into a small bead. Yi Xian opened his mouth, and the small bead flew into his mouth with a whoosh. It turned into a warm current that flowed down his throat and into his stomach. Hua la la! Rumble! The next moment, Yi Xian's body seemed to be turned upside down. A shackle appeared out of nowhere, and from that moment on, the loud clanking sound of the shackle never stopped for a second. All sorts of top-grade training resources turned into a blazing energy river that surged and shook the shackle, bringing about a shockingly loud rumble. Time passed slowly amidst this earth-shattering rumble. Almost every second was filled with endless pain. In the end, he even became numb and forgot about the existence of time. After an unknown period of time, when his consciousness gradually returned, he discovered that the continuous rumbling in his body had actually disappeared. The incomparably blazing energy river had disappeared, and the shackles that had appeared before had also disappeared without a trace. A sense of clarity surged into Yi Xian's mind. He was overjoyed. The breakthrough was complete, and what followed next was the long-awaited system notification. Everything would come soon. Ding! Congratulations to host for achieving a breakthrough in the ancient Dongshu formula. Current realm. Level 2 Emperor Immortal. Ding! Congratulations to host. You have achieved a breakthrough in your physical body's Qi and blood realm. Current realm. Level 2 Emperor Immortal. Before this, Yi Xian's original body had already reached the first rank of Immortal Emperor. Once he activated the three-headed, six-armed ancient demon ape bloodline, his strength would soar to the second rank of Immortal Emperor. If he used 9 transformation of demonic ape and reached the 6th transformation, he would instantly reach the 8th level of Emperor level. Just one more level and he would reach the peak of Emperor level 9. And this time, when his cultivation level broke through again, the moment Yi Xian activated the Devil Ape bloodline in his body and entered the 6th transformation of the 9 transformations of the Devil Ape, his peak battle strength would instantly reach the peak of the 9th level of the King Realm, and his battle strength would rise again. It's a pity that I've been breaking through too frequently recently, and my state of mind is a little unstable. Otherwise, if I broke through another small level and raised my cultivation level to the 3rd level of the King Realm in my normal state, then once I entered the 6th transformation of the Devil Ape, I would instantly have the strength of an Emperor level 1. Feeling the terrifying power within him, Yi Xian muttered softly. However, there's no need to rush. Emperor level 9 peak is already invincible within this region. As long as I don't meet an Emperor level undying, I can do whatever I want. After adjusting his state of mind, Yi Xian checked the time. Although he wasn't in a hurry to break through this time, he was still moving slowly. However, it still only took around half a month. Originally, there was still 11.5 months left in the 1-year period. However, it wasn't a good time to continue his closed-door training. His state of mind had to be tempered through battles. All of this would have to wait until the year was up, and he would have to go on a long journey and go through a few bloody battles. And now, he could use the remaining time to study the 7th transformation of the Devil Ape, or the perfect recipe for the level 24 pill. Even though the 7th transformation is still important, as it allows me to easily raise my cultivation level by a small level when I use the 9 transformation of demonic ape bloodline ability, and my blood energy will increase by 10 times. All in all, my battle strength will increase greatly. However, compared to this body's breakthrough, the importance of the 7th transformation is still slightly inferior. What's more, the complete mysteries of the 7th transformation of the Devil Ape have been ordered to be deduced by the system after I fully deciphered the 6th transformation. Even without my powerful divine sense, it will be slightly slower if I fully unleash it. But ultimately, it won't take much time. After pondering for a while, Yi Xian quickly made a decision. Since that's the case, I'll use the remaining time to study the perfect recipe for the level 24 pill. The level 24 pill was known as the Emperor level treasure pill. It could allow an Emperor level 9 peak to smoothly break through to the Emperor level. Right now, Yi Xian was only at the 2nd level of the titled king. Even if he reached the pinnacle of the 9th level, all he needed was a level 23 pill that could help him break through to the 1st level of the titled emperor. He had already successfully deduced the perfect recipe for the level 23 pill, but because he had yet to gather 10 pieces of king blood essence, he had yet to refine it. It could be said that he didn't need the level 24 pill recipe at all. He still had enough time to ponder and deduce it. However, Yi Xian didn't dare to delay too much. While he had time, he wanted to think about this matter. As a result, it took him nearly 10 months to deduce the perfect pill formula for a mere level 23 pill. From this, it could be seen that the pill recipe for the level 24 pill that would be used to break through to the Immortal Emperor level was probably just to deduce this level. This would take at least a year or more. Moreover, during this period of over a year, he couldn't do anything. He had to concentrate all his attention, neither sleep nor rest, and carry out deductions without stopping for a moment. How could he possibly have such a long period of leisure at all times? Since he had time now, he naturally could deduce it bit by bit. Using the gene cultivation fluid to temper the body, tearing apart the shackles of the human body's potential, and promoting the evolution of life, although breaking through to the Great Realm was extremely fast, as long as the energy accumulation of 9 small levels in each Great Realm met the requirements, then he would be able to smoothly break through. However, not to mention anything else, just the amount of mental energy required to deduce the pill formula was a little outrageous. Even though Yi Xian had a huge amount of resources, in the end, every time he broke through to a Great Realm, he would have to pay an incomparably difficult price. Hard work. Chapter 4291. Over 300 days and nights passed in the blink of an eye. The last time, Yi Xian had used over 10 months to calculate the perfect recipe for the level 23 pill. This time, even though it was harder to calculate the perfect recipe for the level 24 pill, Yi Xian had already broken through to Emperor level. His divine sense was much more powerful than the last time. Therefore, he only used slightly more than 11 months to successfully deduce the perfect pill formula for the level 24 pill. When he opened his eyes, there were only 2 days left before the 1-year deadline. Luckily, I didn't disappoint you. The perfect recipe for the level 24 pill has finally been calculated. Yi Xian's eyes flashed as he subconsciously clenched his fists. A level 24 pill is able to allow an immortal old monster at the peak of the 9th stage of the Emperor realm to successfully break through to the Emperor realm. Which means, as long as I have enough materials, after making the level 24 pill, my strength will definitely break through to Emperor level in the future. It's a pity, not to mention the level 24 pill, I haven't even gathered enough materials for one batch of the level 23 pill to break through to Emperor level. As he spoke to hear, Yi Xian's expression darkened, but the light in his eyes became even more resolute. It seems that this long journey is a must. Other than hunting undying emperors, gathering enough emperor blood essence to refine a level 23 pill, and searching for the 4 great battles. Even the emperor immortals are within the hunting range. This was not completely impossible. Currently, Yi Xian's original body's cultivation had already broken through to the 2nd level of the king realm. Once he activated the bloodline ability of the 9 transformations of the devil ape and used it to the 6th transformation, he would instantly possess the great circle of the 9th level of the king realm, full of terrifying strength. If he had 2 or 3 more breakthroughs during this long journey, Yi Xian's pinnacle strength would break through to emperor level 2 or 3. As such, if he were to encounter a 1st or 2nd order emperors, it would be a piece of cake to kill them. There are only 2 days left before the 1-year deadline. Those fellows should be coming out soon. As he spoke, Yi Xian raised his head to look at the atmosphere above his head. Just as he was about to flash away with a shake of his shoulders, an earth-shattering rumble of thunder suddenly sounded out from the void outside the atmosphere. Rumble! Rumble! The rumbling of the thunder was not only sudden, but also shocking. The aura of the calamity loomed over, causing Yi Xian to tremble. He subconsciously turned around and muttered, "From the sound of it, it seems like there's more than one wave of calamity lightning. Could it be?" Before he finished speaking, his figure had already disappeared and arrived in the void of the universe outside the atmosphere. With a glance, there was a sudden surge of wind and clouds above 6 life stars in all directions. Almost at the same time, in the space outside these life stars, a large number of black calamity clouds surged over. There were so many of them that they covered the entire star. This scene was extremely mystical. It was as if a second layer of black atmosphere had covered the original atmosphere. It was dazzling, especially when all 6 stars were like this. For a moment, it gave people an extremely unreal feeling. Wan wan, wan wan, wan wan. If it was a dream, 5 waves of calamity, 1 wave of calamity. Yi Xian's divine sense swept across the black calamity clouds that shrouded these few stars. He instantly understood everything. His eyes flashed, and he immediately used his divine sense to send a message, which resounded throughout the vast and boundless Phoenix Bloodstar region. All those who are going through the calamity, leave this place. Go to the universe void at the edge of the forbidden area. Just go through the calamity with peace of mind. Everything will be decided by me. If there are no accidents, I will definitely take action. As soon as he finished speaking, from these 6 life stars, there were instantly figures that swept out at an extremely fast speed. They all rushed to the distant void around Phoenix Bloodstar region. The thick calamity clouds that originally shrouded these 6 life stars were like shadows. Then they locked onto these 6 figures and went far away in an instant. Although the 6 figures were fast, Yi Xian still saw them clearly. The guy who was going through the calamity was the elephant fox Martin. In just a year, he had broken through to the peak of the 9th level of the immortal realm as he wished. Now, after swallowing a marquee treasure pill, the calamity clouds descended. As long as he could pass through it, he would become a marquee immortal. As for the other 5 figures, they were all going through the calamity of being a marquee immortal. Yi Xian didn't have a lot of marquee immortal pills to break through to the marquee immortal realm. Last time, he made 14 marquee immortal. 1 year ago, he gave 1 to the 3-clawed flood dragon. Now, there were only 13 left. These 13 marquee immortal pills, Before Yi Xian decided to go into seclusion to deduce the perfect formula of the level 24 pill, he gave them to the Green Bull for safekeeping temporarily. He also told the 34 Marquis Immortal Realm subordinates under him that if any of them broke through to the Marquis Immortal Realm within a year, he would immediately give one to anyone who broke through to the peak of the 9th level. Now, it seemed that of the 13 Marquis Immortal Realm subordinates, only 8 were left. 5 of them were given to those who were going through the calamity of being a Marquis Immortal. Among these 5 lucky fellows, there were Yu Ling Long, Long Ao, and Gong Jun. As for the other 2 fellows, they were the Marquis Immortal Realm Ferocious Beast commanders under the young man's command in the previous battle. They were originally at the 6th level of the Marquis Immortal Realm. Within a year, they had broken through 3 times consecutively and stepped into the peak of the 9th level of the Marquis Immortal Realm. A few days ago, they received an Marquis Immortal Realm pill from the Green Bull. Once these 5 people successfully passed the Calamity of Lightning, the Forbidden Land of Phoenix Blood would have 5 more Marquis Immortal Realm Undyings. Even if Yi Xian and the Green Bull were to leave, with these 5 Marquis Immortal Realm Ferocious Beast Kings temporarily guarding the Forbidden Land of Phoenix Blood, they would be able to ensure the safety of this star field. Because the Calamity of Lightning was simply too big. Although the entire Phoenix Blood starfield was extremely vast, there were still countless figures rushing out of the atmosphere of their respective stars and arriving at the outer space of the universe. Their faces were filled with shock as they looked up. More and more people gathered. Except for those who were still in seclusion, those who could leave had all come to the outer space of the universe to watch this grand scene. That's right, this was indeed a rare grand scene. 6 waves of Calamity of Lightning were coming at the same time. 1 wave was the Marquis Immortal Realm Tribulation, and 5 waves were the Marquis Immortal Realm Tribulation. Even the Green Bull and Yi Xian had never seen such a scene, let alone the other great beings in Phoenix Blood Starfield. Hong! Ka-cha! Ka-cha-cha! Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, an earth-shaking rumble resounded. It continued without end, and it was accompanied by the extremely clear sound of lightning striking down. Chapter 4292. Whether it was the Marquis Tribulation or the King Tribulation, there was only 1 wave of tribulation lightning. The only difference was the thickness and power of this 1 wave of tribulation lightning. The thunder tribulations in the Phoenix Blood Star area were indeed rare. 5 kings and 1 marquis were going through the tribulations at the same time. Even in this vast and boundless fragment of the Desolation Ancient Era, such a thing had not happened more than a few times. Although the power of the 6 waves of tribulation lightning was terrifying, after only 1 wave, the tribulation cloud had gradually dispersed amidst the earth-shattering rumbling of thunder. When the 6 waves of tribulation lightning struck down, Yi Xian's heart had indeed risen to his throat. The 5 conferred kings and 1 conferred marquis were extremely important to him. They were indispensable subordinates, and no matter who died in the tribulation lightning, Yi Xian wouldn't be happy. In fact, he would definitely be extremely depressed. Fortunately, these 6 fellows did not disappoint. Although they were struck half dead, they survived in the end. No one fell in the tribulation lightning. As for the injuries on their bodies, no matter how serious they were nothing to Yi Xian. With a wave of his hand, 6 dark rays of light shot out from his hand and shot in 6 different directions around the Phoenix Bloodstar region, directly landing on the 6 fellows undergoing tribulation. After they caught it, they directly swallowed it. The 6 drops of all evil origin liquid could not only heal the serious injuries they suffered in the tribulation in an instant, but it could also strengthen their realm and completely stabilize their newly broken cultivation base. Screech! Roar! As a drop of all evil origin liquid fell into their stomachs, the 6 fellows' injuries were instantly healed. Their auras completely stabilized. Overjoyed, they roared wildly at the top of their heads, unable to suppress their excitement. They sensed everyone in the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood. In the void outside the atmosphere of more than 800 life stars, countless experts who had been watching from afar quickly dispersed one after another. They were all stimulated and immediately turned to return to their respective planets and cave residences. They began to cultivate in seclusion. It could be said that the simultaneous tribulation of 6 marquises and kings was a great boost to the morale of the countless experts in the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood. A fiery cultivation craze began on a grand scale. At this time, when the figures in the void outside the universe gradually decreased, the 6 guys who had just completed their tribulations shot forward and arrived in front of Yi Xian. There was only 1 level 1 Marquis Lord, and that was the elephant fox mink. There were 5 emperors level 1, Yuling Longxiang, Gongjun, and 2 ferocious beasts, a black wind tiger and a howling moon mastiff. At this point, the peak combat strength of Yi Xian's space nomadic army, which was the number of undyings, had reached 7. As for marquises, there were originally 34 of them, but after the elephantine ferret's breakthrough, there were now 35 of them. However, 5 of them had successfully broken through to the titled king realm, so the number of marquises had decreased to only 30. The normal undyings below the official level were still the same as before, a total of over 400. As for the normal forces, they were divided into 3 major armies. Ferocious Beast Army. A total of tens of millions. In the entire army, there were a total of 8 marquee-level Ferocious Beast commanders and over 130 normal undyings beast leaders. Survivor Army. A total of tens of millions of survivors, over 1 million battleships, 6 marquee-level undyings, and over 100 normal undyings. Captive Army. Countless strong warriors in space, close to 150 million battleships, 16 marquee-level undyings, and over 160 normal undyings. And this was without including Flying Centipede, Silver G, Corpse Ancestor, and Drought Demon. If these hidden subordinates were included, the combat power of the entire Starry Sky nomadic army would be even more powerful. With such a formation, the combined strength of the entire space nomadic army, even without the super freak Yi Xian, was almost on par with the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood. However, what comforted Yi Xian the most was that in just 1 year, 5 marquee-level undyings had successfully broken through to Emperor level. This way, even if he and Green Bull were to leave the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood immediately, they would be completely at ease. These 5 Emperor-level undyings were enough to ensure the safety of the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood. Of course, the best plan was to imprint the second interstellar coordinate jump point in the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood. This way, Yi Xian could return at any time and arrive at his destination with just a thought. However, the moment this idea popped up, he immediately rejected it. With his current system title level, he could only imprint 2 interstellar coordinate jump points in the same universe dimension. Previously, he had already imprinted one in the Mulberry Tree starfield, so there was only 1 spot left. Although the Phoenix Blood starfield was huge with over 800 life stars, to Yi Xian, this was still only a temporary resting place. He shouldn't waste the last remaining coordinate jump point here. Greetings, my king. At this moment, Yi Xian stood proudly in the void space. The 30-meter-tall violent ape emitted an invisible pressure. Behind him stood Green Bull, swinging his tail and snorting from time to time. 6 rays of light shot over from all directions of the Phoenix Blood starfield and lined up in front of him. They clasped their hands and bowed respectfully. At this moment, regardless of whether it was Yu Linglong, Longxing, Gongjun, or the Black Wind Tiger and the Howling Moon Mastiff, the 2 forbidden beasts that had been taken into the ferocious beast army by the Green Ox, they were all sincerely convinced by Yi Xian. They hadn't done anything, but they had obtained great opportunities. A year ago they were only marquee-level undyings, but now in the blink of an eye, they had become marquee-level undyings. All of this was like a dream, but it was also very real. It made them sigh with emotion, and they were naturally convinced. However, although they were convinced, the 5 emperors who had just become level undyings were still a little nervous, especially Yu Linglong and the other 2. However, this had nothing to do with Yi Xian. It was the trouble that Green Bull had stirred up earlier. It was obvious that these 5 fellows were all worried that Yi Xian wouldn't immediately make a move. Just as the Green Ox had said earlier, he would harvest the fruits and kill them on the spot. He would take the blood and chi from their bodies and refine them into king blood essences. All right, don't think about those useless things. If I really wanted to take action, you wouldn't even have the chance to get close to me. You would have turned into a cloud of blood mist in the distance. Speechless, Yi Xian rolled his eyes. He turned around and shot toward the depths of the universe in front of the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood. I'll take Old Ox and Elephant Fox Ferret with me. I'll leave immediately. As for the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood, I'll leave it to the 5 of you to guard. I hope that when this king returns, the 5 of you will still be here. Otherwise, if there is anyone who feigns compliance, this king can guarantee that no matter where you flee to, this king will definitely find you and punish you personally. Moo. Chapter 4293. There were only 2 intermediate space forbidden lands that Green Bull knew the exact location of. One was the Phoenix Blood forbidden land that had been breached, and the other was the Bai Meng Forbidden Land that was 10 billion miles away from the Phoenix Blood Forbidden Land. In Green Bull's impression, the Bai Meng Forbidden Land's overall strength was on par with the Phoenix Blood Forbidden Land. They both had 2 emperors, but they weren't birds. Instead, they were 2 copper behemoths with extremely strong physical bodies. However, this information was from more than 1,000 years ago. As for whether the details of these 2 mid-level starry sky forbidden zones had changed greatly during this time, even Green Ox did not know. This time, Yi Xian and Green Bull brought the elephant fox marten out of the Phoenix Blood Starfield. Their destination was the Bai Meng Forbidden Land. Of course, because they didn't know the current situation of this powerful intermediate space forbidden land, plus Yi Xian's space nomadic army, countless great beings still needed some time to improve their strength. Hence, this time, Yi Xian and Green Bull didn't plan to cause a ruckus in the Bai Meng Forbidden Land. Instead, they planned to scout in the dark and wait for an opportunity to kill, just like the first time they went to the Phoenix Blood Starfield. Even though they didn't know the exact situation of the Bai Meng Forbidden Land, if they looked at the huge changes in strength of the Phoenix Blood Forbidden Land in the past 1,000 years, they could roughly figure it out. If there weren't any accidents, the Bai Meng Forbidden Land now had at least 4 to 5 emperors. Yi Xian didn't care about this. His original body was already at the 2nd level of the titled King realm under normal circumstances, but after entering the Devil Ape true body state and transforming into a 30-meter-tall starry sky berserk ape, he was at the 3rd level of the titled King realm. If he activated the 9 demon ape transformation and used the 6th transformation, his peak battle strength would reach Emperor level 9 peak. It could be said that he was invincible under Emperor level. No matter how strong the Bai Meng Forbidden Land was, as long as the 2 copper behemoths didn't break through to Emperor level, Yi Xian wasn't afraid of them at all. They weren't a threat at all. Xiao. In the boundless void of the universe, a ray of light shot out at an extremely fast speed, disappearing into the distant horizon in the blink of an eye. This ray of light was Yi Xian, the Green Ox, and the elephant fox mink who had left the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood. The light was green in color. It was a green ox that was over 100 feet tall. Now that it was a feral king, its speed was swift to the extreme as it unleashed its full power. Coupled with the occasional teleportation, it traversed millions of miles of space in the blink of an eye. Left behind. Because of this time, Yi Xian did not exert himself to travel. Instead, he shrunk his body and sat cross-legged on the back of the green ox, maintaining a height of about 10 feet. On Yi Xian's shoulder, a strange purple long-nosed ferret the size of a palm was lying there. It was the elephant fox mink. This fellow was only a 1st-level marquis. If it were to travel by itself, its speed would definitely be so slow that Yi Xian and the green ox would not be able to tolerate it. Therefore, this time, it could be considered to have benefited from Yi Xian. It was treated as a pet and laid on Yi Xian's shoulder, enjoying the extreme speed of the green ox's hooves together. The journey to the Bai Meng Forbidden Land was very long. It was a long journey of tens of billions of miles. Even with the green ox's maximum speed, it would take half a month to reach it. This was because the green ox knew the exact location of the Bai Meng Forbidden Land. Otherwise, if they were to travel aimlessly in the void, it would be easy for them to unknowingly deviate from their direction after a long time. The angle of deviation was limited in 1 or 2 days, but in 8 to 10 days, they would probably pass by each other. This was also the reason why there were so many forbidden areas and remnant star regions of various levels in the void of this primordial world fragment. However, other than the close neighbors in the star regions who knew of each other's existence, it was very difficult for them to interact with each other once they were far away. Yi Xian had never set foot in the direction to the Bai Meng star region before. As for the green ox, although it had known about the existence of the Bai Meng Forbidden Land more than 1,000 years ago, and even knew its exact location, that was only because it was in the same level as the green ox. It was because it was the leader of the undying fierce beasts in the rank forbidden land of Phoenix Blood. It heard it from others. As for this starry sky route to the Bai Meng star region, it had never set foot in it before. It was precisely because of this that the green ox actually did not know about the other small forbidden areas in the star regions along the way. After the 3 of them left the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood, 9 days passed very quickly under the full speed of the green ox. There were only 6 or 7 days left before they reached the Bai Meng Forbidden Land. It was also at this moment that a small forbidden area appeared in the vision of Yi Xian and the other 2. Not to mention Yi Xian and the elephant fox ferret, even the green ox was rather surprised. This place was extremely far from the Bai Meng Forbidden Land. Even emperors would need 6 or 7 days to travel at full speed. This could be seen from this. Hence, even if they destroyed this small forbidden area, there would definitely not be any accidents that would alert the enemy. However, to Yi Xian and the Green Ox, such a small forbidden area did not pique their interest. If there was an entire nomadic army behind them, even if it was just a small force, they might be interested and send out their regular army forces to launch a punitive expedition. However, there was only Yi Xian, the Green Ox and the Elephant Fox Ferret. There was no need to waste too much energy and time to completely destroy this small forbidden area. However, they could not let go of the commander of the fierce beasts within. The ruler of a small forbidden area was normally an official level undying, and there would usually be more than one. This was after all the blood essence of an official level, which could be used to make a level 22 Emperor-level treasure pill. Even though Yi Xian had no use for it, he still had 8 Emperor-level treasures in his hands. He only had 8 pills left. Hence, when he met an official level undying, he still had to make a move. HM? It's actually Emperor-level energy? As he extended his spirit sense, Yi Xian, who was sitting cross-legged on the back of the Green Ox, raised an eyebrow. As he muttered to himself, his eyes lit up. In the small space forbidden area ahead, he actually caught a thread of Emperor-level energy. It was slightly unstable. Obviously, it had just broken through not too long ago and was still stabilizing it. Clearly, this King-tier feral that had just ascended was merely a Marquis Immortal tier perfect class 9 not too long ago. Perhaps it had obtained some sort of opportunity that allowed it to smoothly ascend a major tier and become a feral king. This was something that could be proven by the strand of faint aura of the lightning tribulation that still remained in the space of this small restricted area in the starry sky ahead. Other than this Emperor-level beast, there were still 2 middle-level official-level beast commanders in this small forbidden area. All 3 targets were the most hated bug clan by Yi Xian. If that was the case, there was nothing more to say. When encountering such disgusting bugs, Yi Xian would not hold back. He had to kill them. Chapter 4294. Moo. As Yi Xian stood up and brought the elephant fox mink lying on his shoulder away from the back of the Green Ox, the latter raised its head and angrily mooed. Its entire body instantly disappeared, and when it reappeared, it was already in this small forbidden area in the starry sky that was tens of thousands of kilometers away. Within the territory. As soon as he appeared, his body had already expanded to 100,000 feet in size. His killing intent surged, and his domineering aura was revealed. Of the 3 targets, the 2 middle-stage Marquis realm experts were not in his eyes at all. Even if he allowed them to escape for a while, they would not be able to escape even if they had wings. As for the other one, although he had just broken through and hadn't even completely stabilized his realm, he was still a conferred king after all. Furthermore, the Green Ox's own cultivation level had only broken through to the conferred king realm a year ago. Although he was much stronger than this insect, if the other party tried to escape with all his might, the Green Ox wouldn't be able to guarantee that he would be able to kill him within 2 hours. Since Yi Xian had said that he would give him 2 hours, if he didn't do it, his old face would be red for a few days. Because of this, the Green Ox immediately teleported over before the other party could notice. As soon as it appeared, it locked onto the figure of the conferred king realm arachnid expert. Without saying a word, it stomped its hoof through the void and did not hesitate to use all its strength. Stomp. Ruthless. Rumble. This stomp contained all the power in the Green Ox's body. It was the full force of a conferred king expert. A formless and terrifying shockwave swept out, causing the void to tremble and rumble with thunder. The arachnid king, whose aura had long been locked onto, cried out in shock. Just as the roar came out of his mouth, he suddenly stopped. Although he had entered the conferred king realm, he had just broken through and his cultivation was not stable yet. He was not a match for the Green Ox to begin with, and now that the Green Ox had suddenly launched a sneak attack with all its might, he was caught off guard and could not even dodge. It was time. Boom. With a shocking explosion, the enormous body of the arachnid king instantly exploded, turning into a blood-green mist that dispersed with a loud bang. Before it could go far, the Green Ox opened its mouth and spat out a majestic invisible force that swept it up. It was wrapped up, compressed into a ball, and swallowed into its stomach. Screech! Screech! At the same time, countless ferocious howls could be heard in the surrounding void. Countless ferocious beasts and insect tribes in this small forbidden land of the starry sky screamed in horror and fled in all directions. Of which, the most eye-catching ones were the 2 official level undyings. Against Green Bull, who had long stabilized his emperor level, they didn't even have the slightest intention of resisting. Their bloodline bodies shrunk to 300 m, becoming two streaks of light. From the left and right, they fled into the void outside the forbidden area. Unfortunately, even though Feng Ho was strong and his speed was not slow, he was still a joke in front of an emperor. Moo! The green ox stretched its neck and roared angrily. Its figure flashed as it teleported. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in the void on the left. It trampled on the marquee insect race that was fleeing in this direction. After compressing and swallowing the blood mist that exploded into its stomach, it flashed again. He was already in the distance to the right of the void. Screech! A despairing howl resounded. The last marquee insect race in this small forbidden land of the starry sky had fallen. Yi Xian gave the green ox 2 hours of time, but this old fellow shamelessly launched a sneak attack and easily ambushed a First-Order King Realm expert of the same realm. Therefore, by the time this battle ended, not to mention 2 hours, even half an incense stick's worth of time had passed. It didn't even take that long. To Green Bull, this was definitely a shocking result, worth bragging about. After the old fellow ended the battle, he proudly swung his oxtail and hopped over to Yi Xian. He opened his mouth and spat out the 3 compressed arachnid chi and blood. Yi Xian glanced at him in disdain. With a wave of his hand, he absorbed the 3 balls of blood essence into his body and sent them into the Shen Nong cauldron. He then began the blood essence refinement. In a short span of 10 breaths, the 3 balls of blood essence were completely refined. He used a small bottle to store them in the sealed cave at the bottom of the volcano in the central region. After the previous crazy refinement of various grades of elixirs, Yi Xian had already used up all his blood essences. He was only left with 4 marquee blood essences. Now, with this reward, he had 5 marquee blood essences. It was enough for him to refine level 23 pills. Level 23 pills. In addition, he also had 2 marquee blood essences that were used to refine level 22 pills. However, although the 5 marquee blood essences were enough for him to refine level 23 pills, Yi Xian didn't plan to start now. Although the 5 marquee blood essences could be used to refine level 23 pills, it was likely that there would only be 1 level 23 pill. If he gathered 10 marquee blood essences and refined them, there would be a 60 to 70% chance that there would be 3 level 23 pills. No matter how he looked at it, it wasn't worth it to refine them now. Since he wasn't in a rush to use them, he decided to refine them after he had gathered 10 or even more marquee blood essences. 2 marquee blood essences. 1 emperor. The high-level forces of this small-scale space forbidden land had all fallen. Even though there were large amounts of bug clan and ferocious beasts, even 10 normal undyings, Yi Xian wasn't interested in them. He flashed and landed on the back of the green ox. He was about to order him to leave and continue on their way. It was also at this moment that the elephant fox mink, whose body had shrunk to the size of a foot and was lying on Yi Xian's shoulder like a pet, suddenly spoke out. "Boss, I've smelled a unique crystal aura from an abandoned planet in the void on the right in front of us. I've never seen it before, so I wonder if it's valuable." As it spoke, the elephantine fox ferret raised its tiny right paw and pointed to the void on the right. "Hey, it's over there. The storage of this unknown crystal seems to be quite large. Based on my feeling, I think they might be the soldiers of the 4 great kinetic races. A race effective. HM?" Hearing these words, Yi Xian's body suddenly froze as a cry of surprise came out of his mouth. He turned around and looked in the direction of the elephant fox ferret's finger. In fact, at this moment, he did not quite believe the words of the elephantine ferret. It was not that he did not believe that there was some unknown mysterious crystal in a certain abandoned star in that direction, but he did not believe that this crystal could be used against void soldiers. A race effective. This was too much of a coincidence. He had just left Phoenix Blood Galaxy and found a suitable training resource for the bloodline evolution of the 4 kinetic energy races. This was unbelievable. Just as this thought flashed through his mind, a familiar system notification sounded out in Yi Xian's mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for discovering the profound Jade Essence Crystal. Will you collect it immediately? Xian Jade Essence Crystal? Chapter 4295. Whoosh! Whoosh! A weak sound of breaking through the air rang out. The figures of Yi Xian and the green ox arrived at an abandoned planet in the blink of an eye. They stood in the void of the universe that was only 10,000 kilometers away from this planet. "Boss, so your nose is sharper than a dog's?" As soon as his body stopped moving, The elephant fox ferret lying on Yi Xian's shoulder muttered in a strange tone. There were too many abandoned planets in this area, more than 1,000 of them. When he pointed in this direction from afar, he only pointed in a general direction. He did not specify that he was talking about this abandoned planet in front of him. However, Yi Xian did not need to ask in detail at all. With a flash of his body, he arrived here. It was obvious that he had already determined that the abandoned planet that contained the mysterious crystal mineral was the one in front of him. This ability was comparable to the elephant fox ferret, who was said to have 1/3 of the treasure-seeking mouse bloodline. It was no wonder that he would mutter like this at this moment. Yi Xian naturally could not tell him about the devouring system in his body. He could only roll his eyes speechlessly. Then, he waved his hand, and an invisible and majestic force enveloped the abandoned planet thousands of kilometers away. And then, boom! Rumble. Continuous rumbling sounds could be heard. The entire abandoned planet was directly blasted apart by this majestic force. Immediately after, a purplish-green light flashed, and a large number of purplish-green crystals sputtered out from the core of the planet, scattering in all directions in the void. Hiss! There are actually so many? Seeing this scene, even Yi Xian was greatly surprised. He sucked in a breath of cold air and did not hesitate any longer. With a wave of his hand, he directly collected all the scattered profound jade essence crystals, wrapped them in an invisible force, and pulled them into the void of the universe in front of him. In an instant, Yi Xian, the green ox, and the elephant fox ferret were all illuminated with a purplish-green color. The crystals in the void in front of them were like small meteors. They were at least hundreds of millions of cubic meters in size. Some were big, some were small, and some were dark and some were light. Among them, more than 1,000 cubic meters were deep purple. They were the purest purple jade essence crystals. Whoosh! As Yi Xian waved his hand again, these 1,000 cubic meters of the purest purple jade essence crystals were stored in a small space box and sent into the undying world in his body. This kind of resource was very rare. These 1,000 cubic meters of purple jade essence crystals were the essence of all profound jade essence crystals. As for the remaining hundreds of millions of cubes of profound jade essence crystals that were of different purity and different shades of purple and cyan, Yi Xian planned to hand them all over to the tens of millions of soldiers in the Void Battle Claw. Previously, the elephantine ferret had said that he had an intuition that this mysterious unknown crystal should be effective on the Void Soldier Dipper clan of the Four Great Warra clan. This wasn't something he spoke casually. Moreover, there was proof behind this, and it was related to a certain innate ability of the treasure-seeking mouse's bloodline. But even so, the elephantine was only guessing. He didn't dare to be sure. He didn't even know the name of this mysterious crystal. In this regard, the devouring system within Yi Xian's body was clearly stronger. He hadn't come into contact with this kind of crystal before, so the system's information database was completely blank. However, once he came into contact with it, the system instantly deciphered it. Not only did it know the name of this crystal, but it also recorded its main effects in the system's database. According to the system's introduction, this profound jade essence crystal was indeed the best energy for the evolution of the Void Soldier clan's bloodline. Its formation was also related to the formation of the universe. It could be said to be of the same origin as the Void Soldier clan's bloodline. It could be said that with this harvest, such a huge amount of profound jade marrow crystals would definitely allow the tens of millions of Void soldiers in the Void battle armor to experience a great evolution in their bloodlines. It was as if their life forms had undergone a great evolution. Once this evolution was completed, the power of the Void battle armor would increase tremendously. Originally, to the current Yi Xian, the great killing weapon that was already considered a chicken rib would once again step onto the great stage that accompanied his growth. Whoosh! With excitement in his heart, Yi Xian waved his hand and directly took out the Void Soldier clan of the Four Great Battle Clans from the undying world in his body. It hung in the void of the universe beside him. Hiss! Hiss hiss hiss! The moment the Void Soldier clan was taken out, from within the Void Soldier clan's body came the cries of countless Dao Soldier clans. They were filled with joy and excitement. Even Yi Xian was a little surprised, because he had never seen them so excited before. It was as if the entire Soldier Ladle clan had collectively been injected with chicken blood. Obviously, the tens of millions of soldier clans in the Void Soldier clan were so excited because they smelled the unique aura of the hundreds of millions of profound jade essence crystals in front of them. Just based on this point, one could conclude that these profound jade essence crystals had an astonishing effect on the evolution of the Soldier clan's bloodline. Yi Xian did not hesitate anymore. He directly waved his hand and instantly sent the hundreds of millions of profound jade essence crystals suspended in the void in front of him into the honeycomb nodes of the Void Soldier Clan's Void Soldier Clan. In the next moment, weak snapping sounds immediately came from all the honeycomb nodes of the Void Soldier Clan. They were densely packed and overwhelming, as if countless silkworms were gnawing on mulberry leaves. Moreover, they were gnawing at them crazily, afraid that they would be slower than others. It was as if they would eat less if they took a step back. Boss, how long have you starved these soldier clans? Why do I feel like all of them are hungry wolves that have just come down the mountain? Isn't this too inhumane? Hearing the crazy gnawing sounds coming from the Void Soldier Clan, the green ox and the elephant fox ferret lying on Yi Xian's shoulder instantly had strange expressions. The old ox did not say anything, but the elephant fox ferret muttered, making Yi Xian extremely embarrassed and rolling his eyes. If not for the fact that this fellow had indeed made a great contribution this time, Yi Xian would have ruthlessly beaten him up for daring to talk about his boss like this. Although there were tens of millions of Void Soldier clans in the Void Soldier Clan, and it seemed that it had indeed been a long time since they had replenished the energy that was beneficial to the evolution of their bloodline. Therefore, when they finally got a chance, they all gnawed on them ruthlessly. However, this time, there seemed to be quite a lot of profound jade essence crystals sent into all the honeycomb nodes of the Void Soldier Clan by Yi Xian. There were hundreds of millions of them in total. Evenly distributed, each soldier clans could get at least 10 cubic meters. These were profound jade essence crystals, which were extremely hard. Otherwise, they would not be effective against the Void Soldier clans. Even the soldier clans could only gnaw on this kind of resource bit by bit like a silkworm. 10 cubic meters was clearly not something that could be used up in a short period of time. Chapter 4296. Moo! The green ox let out an angry moo as its body shot out. In the blink of an eye, it was already tens of millions of kilometers away. After all, it was a titled Emperor stage expert. Tens of millions of kilometers of space were nothing to it. Boss Yu, aren't you being too impatient? Right at this moment, the elephant fox ferret that was lying on Yi Xian's shoulder anxiously spoke again. It doesn't seem like it's time for us to leave yet. There's something even better in that place. Roar! The green ox snorted gloomily. Its four hooves suddenly stopped in midair, and it instantly braked. Old man, you did that on purpose, didn't you? You're panting when you talk. Yi Xian was speechless. He rolled his eyes gloomily and exerted some force with his feet. The green ox immediately turned around and rushed towards the void that they had just left. In just a short breath, the three of them had already returned to their original point. They once again stood in the void of the universe in front of the exploded star. Speak, what other good things are there? Where is it? Yi Xian raised his hand and directly twisted the elephant fox ferret off his shoulder. He threw it into the void in front of him with an unhappy expression. Wait a minute, the aura is a little strange. There's a very unique fragrance, and it's not the smell of the body, but the smell of the soul. The small figure of the elephant fox ferret tumbled a few times in the void, and after stabilizing itself, it immediately flew around the surrounding void. As it flew, it kept sniffing, and the words it said were even more strange and strange. The smell of the soul? And it's actually some kind of unique fragrance? Yi Xian was confused when he heard this. He subconsciously frowned. Why didn't this Star Master smell it? There was one more thing he did not say, and that was that not only him, even the devouring system in his body did not seem to have any reaction. This time, Yi Xian could not help but be a little suspicious. He thought that there might be something wrong with the elephant fox ferret's nose, or perhaps his intuition was wrong. After all, the devouring system in his body did not react, which was enough to prove that there was a problem. Yi Xian was still extremely reliant on it. Moo! That's right. Little ferret, I'm afraid you've made a mistake this time. The green ox also raised its head and mooed softly with an unfriendly expression. It continued in a muffled voice. This king's ox nose is also very sensitive. Back then, there were so many ox beauties. I blindfolded them and they flashed before my eyes one by one. I've never made a mistake. I'm right with one sniff. F***CK. Yi Xian was speechless. He rolled his eyes and cursed. It seemed that this damn ox was still brooding over the past. It kept thinking about those ox-head beauties. It was almost turning into resentment. Beauty. A beauty. She was definitely a beauty. This old ox can smell it. This is the body fragrance of a beauty. It can directly produce an effect on the soul. This beauty who has long since passed away definitely has an extraordinary background. It was also at this moment that the elephantine, who had flown to the void behind him, suddenly shrieked with incomparable excitement. His figure directly transformed into a streak of lightning-like dark radiance, charging towards the abandoned star that was only a few million kilometers away from him. It's on this abandoned star. Boss, Nyo Air Wang. There is a beauty buried in the core of the abandoned star. Moo! Little Moo, stop right there. Upon hearing that there was a beauty, the green ox's reaction was actually faster than Yi Xian's. It immediately raised its head and mooed angrily. As soon as the mooing sounded, its figure had already disappeared. It actually directly teleported and appeared in the void in front of the elephantine. Bang! With a raise of its hind hooves, the elephantine that was charging in that direction was directly kicked away by the green ox's hooves. It howled miserably as its figure flew back thousands of kilometers. Humph, you little moo. This is this king's ox head beauty. Why are you so agitated? After kicking the elephantine away, the green ox did not stop at all. As it muttered, it teleported again. In less than half a breath, it had already appeared in the sky above the abandoned star in front of it. It stood on its hind legs and stomped down with its front hooves. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion sounded. The even larger abandoned star instantly exploded. A ball of hazy green light shot out from the shattered core of the star and rushed into the void to the right. It was clearly a ball of profound jade essence crystal. It did not have the slightest bit of purple. It was the purest green crystal. It was not big, only about 3 meters in radius. The beauty that the elephantine was talking about was naturally not the ox-head beauty that the green ox had misunderstood. It was clearly a human woman wearing a blue gauze dress. Half of her left shoulder was gone, and there were many wounds on her body. Her gauze dress was stained with blood. However, her body was still relatively intact. Unfortunately, this woman who was sealed inside a piece of profound jade essence crystal had clearly died long ago. Moreover, she had most likely died countless years ago. Moo! Seeing this piece of profound jade essence crystal and the human woman sealed inside it, the green ox, who was originally extremely excited, raised its head and let out a sorrowful and angry moo, revealing a strong sense of despair. Where's the ox-head beauty that was promised? Why did she suddenly become a human? Damn it, she doesn't even have horns on her head, and her nostrils are smaller than copper bells. She's so king ugly. Such a peerless beauty, whether it was her appearance, figure, or graceful and otherworldly temperament, was definitely comparable to the corpse ancestor, drought demon, or the nine-tailed celestial fox. But now, she was criticized by the green ox to be so ugly. Such a strange aesthetic view shocked Yi Qingyu. A chill ran down Xian's spine. He almost impulsively attacked and killed this old fellow on the spot. Buzz! Wang wang wang. It was also at this moment that the primordial heavy artifact, Yan Luo, that Yi Xian had kept in his undying world, suddenly trembled violently without any warning. This situation had already happened twice before. The remains of the nine-tailed heavenly fox and the celestial phoenix maiden's treasures from their previous lives were discovered. At this time, all of them were like this. Thinking of this, Yi Xian's heart suddenly moved, and he cried out involuntarily, "It can't be so coincidental, right? Could it be that I bumped into another one? If that's the case, is the woman sealed in this profound jade essence crystal the fairy of the nine heavens, or fairy Xia?" Whoosh! As he cried out, Yi Xian's movements did not slow down at all. With a wave of his hand, the Yan Luo was taken out from the undying world in his body. It floated in the air in front of him, expanded with the wind, and turned into a pink silk cloth that was 100 feet wide, slowly unfolding. "Master, I'm the fairy of the mystery realm." Almost at the same time, from the pink silk cloth, an incomparably weak voice of a woman with a faint sense of fear quietly sounded. "The sisters are still in deep sleep and have not awakened, but the fairy of the mystery realm sensed the previous life, the aura of the treasure body, so the slumbering source of spiritual sense was unexpectedly awakened." The fairy of the nine heavens? It's actually you. The guess in his heart was finally confirmed. Yi Xian's heart trembled, and his eyes instantly lit up. Chapter 4297. Get lost. Yi Xian was so angry that he kicked out, sending the green ox that was shamelessly rubbing against him flying. After rolling his eyes, He once again swept his gaze towards the 300-meter-long silk net in front of him. After thinking for a while, he asked, "Mysterious fairy, the nine-tailed celestial fox and the celestial phoenix maiden were able to reconstruct their real bodies with the help of their past lives. Can you do the same? If so, do you need me to help you put away your past life treasure in front of you? Although I am only left with a trace of my spiritual sense, it is still the treasure of my past life and they can still sense each other. Otherwise, I would not have suddenly woken up in advance." The gentle voice of the nine heavens mystic fairy could be heard again from the pink treasure that was fluttering in the wind. "Master, you only need to watch from the side. If there are no other problems, I will take back the treasure body of my previous life and use it to reconstruct my true body of this life." Yi Xian nodded. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat, and he subconsciously blurted out, "That's right, this Star Master has seen the treasures of the nine-tailed heavenly fox and the celestial phoenix maiden from their previous lives, and they are quite incomplete. Their real bodies have been restored to the immortal realm. Looking at your precious body from your previous life, although it has some scars, it is only missing half an arm. Moreover, the entire precious body is sealed within a piece of profound jade essence crystal. Although it has been through countless years, the energy loss in the precious body should be very limited. So, once you use this past life treasure to reconstruct your real body, I wonder what level your cultivation will reach." Regarding this matter, Yi Xian was a little disappointed. He originally thought that the nine-tailed heavenly fox would be able to sculpt her true body using the treasure of her previous life. Even if her cultivation wasn't at the peak of the primordial era in his previous life, she would at least be able to recover to the level of king or emperor immortal. No problem. The result made him speechless. She was only an ordinary immortal. This time, the nine heavens fairy's past life treasure was perfectly preserved. After recalling this matter, he suddenly had new hope. If he could have an emperor or even an emperor as his loyal subordinate, it would be of great significance to Yi Xian. Not only would it benefit him, but it would also greatly increase the growth of the entire nomadic army. Therefore, as long as there was even the slightest possibility of this happening, there was no way he wouldn't pay attention to it and place high hopes on it. My precious body from my previous life is indeed still intact. However, I used up too much energy in that battle back then. Before my main body fell, my precious body was damaged. Hence, although I can use it to reconstruct my true body, once I succeed, my strength won't be as low as a normal undying realm, but it won't be too strong. The voice of the nine heavens maiden continued. According to my estimation, he should be around the level of immortal Marquis. He's still some distance away from immortal Marquis. You've just been conferred the title of Marquis? This is too weak. Upon hearing this result, Yi Xian was once again disappointed. There were a total of 7 primordial spiritual sources sealed in the Luo Yen Luo. Including the nine heavens maiden, there were already 6 primordial spiritual sources that had awakened. However, as more and more primordial spiritual sources awakened in the Luo Yen Luo, every time a new primordial spiritual source woke up, the joy in Yi Xian's heart gradually faded. He still remembered that when the corpse ancestor Hitorigami woke up and reconstructed his true body, his strength was only half-step universe realm. However, Yi Xian was extremely happy and regarded him as a great support, even like a backing mountain. And now the newly awakened nine heavens maiden, once she reconstructed her true body, her strength would directly return to immortal Marquis level. However, to Yi Xian, this strength was of little use. The help it provided to him was almost negligible. Even though this makes me a little speechless, but, from another perspective, it also shows that this Star Lord's cultivation is advancing too quickly. This is also something to be happy about. Thinking of this, Yi Xian's gloominess dissipated a lot. He muttered softly and shook his head again with a self-deprecating smile. Master, you're already a Marquis level immortal Marquis. It's understandable that you feel that the nine heavens maiden's strength is too weak after she restores her strength. Just as Yi Xian was sighing, the nine heavens maiden's gentle voice sounded from the pink silk in front of him again. However, Master, don't worry. The 7 of us sisters were all powerful beings of the primordial era in our previous life. Although we've reincarnated in this life, after we reconstruct our true bodies, once we recover, our strength will increase very quickly. And, if there are no accidents, we'll definitely be able to reach the pinnacle of the primordial era. It's just a matter of time. If Master needs strong help now, Zixia, who hasn't awakened yet, may be able to give you a surprise. What do you mean? Hearing this, Yi Xian's eyes lit up instantly and he asked anxiously. The battle back then was very fierce. And before this source of consciousness was absorbed into the treasure, some of the 7 of us sisters didn't even meet each other. So, when the original bodies of the 7 sisters died, they were not together, and even at different times. Only Zixia and I were the best sisters before the battle back then. And, when the original bodies of the 2 of us died, the 2 of us joined forces to fight against the enemy. Zixia died before the mysterious maiden, and the reason why the mysterious maiden's treasure body in her previous life was damaged to the point that she had to use it to reconstruct her true body in this life, and her strength could only recover to the level of a marquis. That was where Zixia died back then. After that, the mysterious maiden used her own source to completely seal her treasure body after she died. When she died, Zixia's treasure body was not only intact, but there were no scars because she was ambushed by the enemy during the battle of the spirit consciousness. More than half of her godly soul dissipated, and she died. Even in her sealed treasure body, there was still a strand of remnant soul. If we can find this Zixia treasure body that was sealed by the mysterious maiden using her own source, once the source of consciousness in Zixia's treasure body wakes up and swallows the remnant soul in the treasure body of the previous life, she can use the treasure body of the previous life to reconstruct her true body in this life. Her strength will at least recover to the level of an emperor immortal, and she may not be too far away from the level of an emperor immortal. What? There's such a good thing? Chapter 4298. Master, don't be anxious. Back then, the reason why the Empyrean fairy didn't hesitate to consume the innate source of the precious body of her past life that was about to perish was to completely seal Sister Zixia's complete precious body and hide it from the strong enemy's detection. It was all for today. Because even though countless years have passed, Sister Zixia's precious body of her past life is definitely fine. As if sensing the anxiety in Yi Xian's heart, the Empyrean fairy's voice faintly revealed a hint of complacency in the pink treasure net that stretched in the void ahead. After a brief explanation, she continued, "Here are the star coordinates of Sister Zixia's complete precious body of her past life. It's in the core of a giant life star. Master, please keep it well." Whoosh! As soon as she finished speaking, a ray of light shot out from the pink silk and disappeared into Yi Xian's forehead in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, the Empyrean fairy's voice sounded again. This ray of light not only contains the star coordinates of the place where Sister Zixia's precious body of her past life is hidden, but also a divine sense imprint of the Empyrean fairy. The seal back then was personally set up by the Empyrean fairy using her innate source. Therefore, unless it's a primordial supreme whose cultivation is stronger than the Empyrean fairy, no one can break the seal without the Empyrean fairy's divine sense imprint. It won't work. Master, everything has been explained. If there's nothing else, the Empyrean fairy will now take back her precious body of her past life. Then, she will fall into a deep sleep for a period of time to rebuild her true body of this life. When she wakes up again, she will be truly reborn. All right, I'll leave everything to you. Seeing hope again, Yi Xian was in a good mood and immediately nodded. As he spoke, he waved his hand and instantly shot a ray of light into the smoke net that stretched in the wind ahead. At the same time, he said, "These are some cultivation resources, including the all-evil source liquid, top-grade flesh medicine, netherworld furnace lotion, innate chilling spirit liquid, and so on. These are all resources that can be used by Hanba and the rest. After you take back your precious body of your past life, you can use them when you rebuild your true body of this life. I believe it will be of some help." These are indeed good things. In this way, after the Empyrean fairy rebuilds her true body of this life, her cultivation and strength will be stronger once she wakes up. In the pink silk net in the void ahead, the Empyrean fairy's voice with endless joy. "Thank you, Master. You're so good. Empyrean fairy and my sisters are so lucky. I didn't expect Master to be so easygoing. I'm really happy." As soon as he finished speaking, a green light rushed out of the pink treasure net. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared into the mysterious jade essence crystal in the void in front of him. T2. In the blink of an eye, they turned into small green fireflies and collapsed with a loud bang. Immediately after, all the fireflies seemed to be sucked in by an invisible force and gathered together. They turned into a trickling stream and poured into the pink silk in the void in front of them. In just 2 short breaths, they had completely disappeared. The precious body of the past life has been retracted. There is no more suspense in reconstructing the true body of this life. Soon, the Empyrean fairy will be completely reborn. After all this was done, The voice of the Empyrean fairy came from the pink silk net in the void ahead again, revealing endless joy. Thank you, Master, for your kindness of rebirth. When the Empyrean fairy wakes up in the future, I will definitely repay you generously. Please, take care. After saying this, there was no more movement in the pink silk net. Obviously, after countless years, the last wisp of spiritual sense of the Empyrean fairy, who had successfully retracted the precious body of the past life, had fallen into a deep sleep at the first moment, and used this to rebuild the present. The true body of the past life. Soon, when she woke up again, it would be equivalent to being reborn and completely reborn. At that time, under Yi Xian's command, there would be one more powerful subordinate in the realm of Marquis. Moreover, she would be completely loyal to him and would be completely loyal to him. Thinking of this, his mood suddenly improved. He grinned and muttered, compared to the domineering Hidorigami and the strange fox girl, this girl is really very obedient. Whoosh. Before he finished speaking, Yi Xian waved his hand and instantly put the Yen Luo into the undying world in his body. At this time, the green ox, who had been kicked tens of millions of miles away by him, also ran back, swinging its tail. Boss, congratulations, congratulations. You have another ox. No, it should be a beauty of the human race. As his four hooves kicked wildly, the old fellow had already arrived in front of Yi Xian in just a few breaths. He had a fawning smile on his face, but his heart was obviously still thinking about his ox beauty. He almost spilled the beans, but Yi Xian glared at him, so he changed his words. Look, where are the coordinates of this starry sky, and how far is it from us? As he spoke, Yi Xian waved his hand and instantly copied the coordinates of the star that the Empyrean fairy had just given him. He compressed it into a ray of light and shot it towards the green ox's forehead. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. Aren't these the interstellar coordinates of the beaming Forbidden Land? Looking at the size of this star, it should be the nest of one of the two king realm copper behemoths in the beaming Forbidden Land. Although the green ox had never been to the beaming Forbidden Land, he was a native of this primordial world fragment void after all. Moreover, he was the leader of the ferocious beasts in the Forbidden Land of Phoenix Blood back then, so he still had many channels of information access. In addition, the giant star that could become the nest of the ferocious beast kings in the beaming Forbidden Land was clearly not an existence that could be seen everywhere. It had a certain uniqueness. Therefore, the green ox did not have much time to think about it. It only took a few breaths to get the answer. In the end, it nodded its huge ox head and raised its head to look at Yi Xian. It snorted and asked, Boss, how did you get the interstellar coordinates of this place? Could it be that you obtained the chi and blood of that fallen king who had just broken through and whose realm had not stabilized? Did you get it from the sea? At this point, the green ox paused. It frowned and hesitated for a moment. In the end, it seemed to have made up its mind and gritted its teeth to persuade. Boss, that guy is from the insect race. A beauty that can be remembered by him must also be an ugly insect. Elder Lien. Even the ox-headed beauty is not as good as her. You better not have too much hope. Get lost. Yi Xian was furious. He kicked out again and directly kicked the green ox into rolling in the void. A miserable howl came from its mouth, and in the blink of an eye, it was tens of millions of kilometers away. Chapter 4299. After leaving the small forbidden area in the starry sky, Yi Xian, the azure ox, and the elephant fox sable rushed all the way. They didn't rest for a moment and spent another 7 days before finally arriving at their destination. At this moment, it had already been half a month since the three of them left the forbidden area of Phoenix Blood. Half a month ago, Green Cow didn't stop at all, teleporting from time to time, leaving behind tens of billions of li of space. Another 50 million li and they would be at the edge of the beaming Forbidden Land. According to the Green Ox, more than 1,000 years ago, when the two ferocious beast kings of the Forbidden Land of Phoenix Blood were only at the early stage of the conferred king stage, the two copper behemoths of the Forbidden Land of Behemoth were already at the middle stage of the conferred king stage. The Forbidden Land of the Starry Sky. But the Forbidden Land of Bai Meng was still stronger than the Forbidden Land of Phoenix Blood. 1,000 years had passed in the blink of an eye, and the two early kings in the Forbidden Land of Phoenix Blood had reached the 6th stage of the Emperor Immortal Realm. Then, the two copper behemoths in the Forbidden Land of Behemoth were definitely late-stage Emperor Immortal Realm. He had to be at least level 8 Emperor level, or even level 9 Emperor level pinnacle, or even a new Emperor level. To Yi Xian, This was definitely not good news. His original body was currently Emperor level 2. Activating the Demon Ape bloodline within him would give him level 3 strength. And the moment he unleashed the Demon Ape transformation bloodline ability to the 6th transformation, his strength would instantly rise to Emperor level 9. Peak level. If the 2 copper behemoths of the Bai Meng starfield were only Emperor level 8, there wouldn't be a problem. However, if they were both peak level 9, then Yi Xian wouldn't have a chance of winning at all. Once one of these 2 crimson copper behemoths had already broken through a great realm and become an Emperor level expert, then the situation would become even more dangerous. All of this, Yi Xian had already considered before he left. However, he didn't care at that time, because his original plan was just to walk around and kill 1 or 2 emperors in the Bai Meng Forbidden Land, hunting in the dark and escaping as soon as he succeeded. Then he would have nothing to fear. However, the situation now was completely different. Fairy Xia's precious body was sealed in the star core of a copper behemoth's nest. Yi Xian had to explore no matter what. Then, he would definitely be exposed. If his cultivation base was not as strong as his opponent's, although he still had all sorts of supreme abilities and treasures, as his cultivation base increased greatly, and now that he had reached the conferred king realm, the effect of these supreme abilities on his overall combat strength was clearly far inferior to before. Yes. When he was still weak, Yi Xian could use the fallen sky bow to kill enemies that were a few realms higher. But now, with the same bow with his current emperor level, he could only kill an emperor-level warrior at most, and he would have to pay a huge price to do so. He would be weakened immediately. If it was one-on-one, it would be fine, but there were at least 4 emperors in the Bai Meng Forbidden Land. Under such circumstances, even if he had the fallen sky bow, he wouldn't dare to use it casually. Otherwise, he would be putting himself in danger. Realm. The only solution was to break through again. That way, once his original body's strength reached Emperor level 3, he would activate the Demon Ape bloodline and unleash the 9 Demon Ape transformation bloodline ability to level 6. After the change, Yi Xian's battle prowess would leap across a large realm and reach the first level of the Emperor realm. That way, there wouldn't be any accidents. However, the stronger one's cultivation was, the more difficult it would be to break through. Yi Xian was originally an anomaly, and he would break through once or twice every few days. After accumulating for a long time, his state of mind had long since become unstable. Although this time he had stopped. Even after half a month, he didn't try to break through again. But in this half a month, he had been on the road, and the stability of his mental state required an opportunity or a great battle to achieve it. In short, the current him was not suitable for another breakthrough. Yi Xian even had a feeling that even if he tried, the final result would be failure. That was obviously not necessary. Otherwise, if he really failed, the impact on his mental state would be even more obvious. It seems that I urgently need a great battle to completely stabilize my unstable mental state. Muttering softly, Yi Xian's gaze swept to the right of the void, and finally locked onto an abandoned star in a remote corner tens of millions of miles away. He immediately sent out his divine sense to the green ox below him. Moo! The green ox snorted, and with a flash of its body, it immediately changed direction and shot towards the void on the right. After a while, the 3 of them entered the interior of this abandoned star, found a deep canyon, and hid in the deepest part of it. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Before we carry out any specific actions, we'll follow the old rules and figure out the situation of this beaming forbidden land first. After entering the canyon, Yi Xian turned to look at the green ox and the elephant fox marten. His eyes flickered as he continued. The 2 copper behemoths in the beaming Forbidden Land are at least at the late stage of the 8th level of this realm, far from the 2 middle-stage copper behemoths in the Forbidden Land of Phoenix Blood. The ferocious birds are comparable, and it is very likely that they have reached the Emperor realm. Even if we make a move, if we are slightly careless, we may be sensed by them if we are close. The divine sense of a late-stage Emperor is very powerful. So, the best way is to lure the target out of the beaming Forbidden Land. This place is still tens of millions of miles away from the edge of the Forbidden Land, and it is the most suitable place to start. As long as we move quickly, we can avoid the divine sense of the 2 copper behemoths. Speaking of this, Yi Xian turned to the elephant fox marten. You have the bloodline of the treasure-seeking mouse in your body, so the task of attracting the target will be yours. Remember, hide your cultivation, and only attract an ordinary immortal being. If it is a marquee, if there is an accident during the hunt, I'm afraid it will alert the enemy. It is definitely not a problem to attract the prey. Hearing this, the elephant fox Martin nodded. With a sway of its body, it instantly hid the cultivation of a marquee that he had just broken through to become an ordinary third-level immortal being. As for its body, it maintained a height of about 10 feet, and also showed its bloodline body. It was obviously a treasure-seeking mouse with a long elephant trunk. This kind of creature was born with a strong intuition for all kinds of heaven and earth treasures, and its sense of smell was extraordinary. If it appeared at the edge of the beaming forbidden land and deliberately waited for an opportunity to show its face, it would be easy to attract an immortal being from the forbidden land. Ferocious beasts. Third-level immortal being is just right. So, let's go. Chapter 4300. Whoosh. Half a day later, a purple streak of light shot over from the void in front of the abandoned planet. It was extremely fast, and there was a hint of impatience in it. This purple streak of light belonged to the elephantine, who was in charge of luring the enemy. Based on the appearance of his bloodline true body, even the sempiternal ferocious beast commander could tell that this was a ferocious beast with the bloodline of a treasure-seeking mouse. Furthermore, the treasure-seeking mouse bloodline in his body was not weak. It was at least 30% of the original bloodline. Generally speaking, the appearance of such a thing meant that there was some kind of treasure nearby. Furthermore, the elephantine had deliberately displayed an impatient aura. It would be strange if the enemy did not take the bait. Soon, an obscure aura suddenly appeared a few million miles behind the elephantine. It was also very fast as it followed the elephantine. Judging from the aura, the person who had taken the bait was a late-stage sempiternal stage 7 ferocious beast. It was no wonder that he was so confident and had followed the elephantine alone. He was obviously confident that he could defeat the elephantine. However, this old fellow's sempiternal stage 3 cultivation was just a facade. He was actually a marquee realm old monster, so he was naturally aware of the commotion behind him. Pretending not to notice, the elephantine turned into a faint purple streak of light and quickly rushed into the abandoned planet's interior. This was obviously because he had arrived at the end of the planet. The ferocious beast commander behind him was so excited that he did not even bother to conceal his aura anymore. He rushed into the planet's interior in the blink of an eye. Beth. Almost at the same time, Yi Xian, who had been waiting for a long time, fully activated the mental power source core in his brain. Pure level 9 mental power spread out and performed a perfect vibration. However, unlike in the past, he did not completely conceal his body. The vibration effect of his mental power spread out and covered half of the planet. This was something that he could not do in the past. Now that he had broken through to the Regis stage, he was much stronger, so it was possible. In an instant, the aura of the elephant fox Martin and the bait, as well as the void of a small part of the star, were all perfectly concealed. Even if a late-stage emperor scanned it with his powerful divine sense, he would not be able to find any clues unless he deliberately observed it carefully. Moo! At the same time, the green ox that was waiting quietly on the other side snorted. A pair of front hooves that had long been prepared instantly stepped out and fiercely imprinted on the back of the bait. However, it restrained its strength and only crushed the entire body below the head. In a short while, he was half dead. Go! Yi Xian reached out his hand and covered the dying beast's head with his mental power. He dragged it toward the deep valley where he was previously hiding. Moo! The green ox snorted and sucked in all the bloody mist from the exploding body of the ferocious beast into its stomach. Not a single strand was left behind. After confirming that there were no traces, it followed closely behind with the elephant fox mink. In the blink of an eye, the figures of the three of them had already vanished. Everything on the spot was as if nothing had happened, and it could be said to be watertight. To emperors, soul-searching was an extremely simple matter. After all, their consciousness was too powerful. Not to mention that this ferocious beast of the Forbidden Grounds still had a complete head and had yet to die. Even if it was just a strand of its soul, Yi Xian could easily soul-search it. Everything ended very quickly. In the end, the head of the ferocious beast of the Forbidden Grounds was smashed into a bloody mist and entered the green ox's stomach. However, the results of the soul search stunned Yi Xian. He opened his mouth and sighed after a long while. The situation was indeed not good, and not optimistic. There were not only 4 or 5 ferocious beast kings in the Forbidden Grounds, but a terrifying 8. Moreover, the 2 copper behemoths that were already 6th-level emperors more than 1,000 years ago were now 9th-level emperors at the peak of 9th-level emperors. Although Yi Xian could also have the battle strength of a 9th level emperor's after using the bloodline ability of the 9 transformations of the demonic ape to the 6th transformation. Once he entered the 6th transformation, his body would explode to 10 million feet tall like a star. Concealment would undoubtedly be the same as fighting head-on. The opponents were 2 9th level emperors. How could Yi Xian have the upper hand in a 1 versus 2 battle? What's more, other than the 2 9th level emperors, there were still 6 other 9th level emperors. The green ox and the elephant fox ferret were not even enough to fill the gaps between the teeth of the 6 ferocious beast kings. Seems like a head-on battle is impossible. They have the advantage of overwhelming us all. Shaking his head with a bitter smile, Yi Xian immediately set the main tone of the follow-up plan. This time, if there are no major changes, we'll still hunt in the dark and take them down one by one. Other than the 2 9th level emperors, of the other 6 9th level emperors in this forbidden grounds, half of them are early level emperors, while the other half are middle level emperors. Other than that, of the 6 early level and middle level ferocious beast kings, only 4 of them are in the forbidden grounds like the 2 copper behemoths. As for the other 2, they have left the forbidden grounds not too long ago, and seem to have gone to other forbidden grounds in the surrounding starfields to visit friends. Of the 2 visiting ferocious beast kings, one is early level emperors, while the other is middle level emperors. We don't know where the early stage one went, but the other one, the emperor level 555 colored deer, went to the immortal Jade Forbidden Land in the space to the right of Bai Meng Forbidden Land. If there are no accidents, this 5-colored deer will return in a few days. Because in the star it oversees, there's a type of spirit fruit that's about to ripen soon. This fruit is the 5-colored deer's favorite spirit fruit, and it ripens once every 100 years, with a duration of only 9 days. He has never missed it, hence, within a month, this 5-colored deer will return. Within a month, this 5-colored deer will definitely return. At this point, Yi Xian's eyes flashed, and he subconsciously licked the corner of his mouth before grinning. More importantly, this 5-colored deer thinks highly of himself, and has always boasted of being noble and aloof. In the entire behemoth forbidden grounds, other than the 2 9th level emperor undying behemoths, the perfection realm copper behemoth almost never listens to anyone, and has always been a lone wolf. Moo! Then what else is there to say? A dignified king-level ferocious beast, but it's full of bad habits. This guy is simply courting death. Hearing this, the green ox did not wait for Yi Xian to finish speaking, and immediately snorted excitedly. It scratched its right hind hoof and stared at Yi Xian, asking for orders to fight on the spot. Boss, don't hesitate. There's no time to lose. Let's immediately rush to that dead deer's path of return. Along the way, lie in wait. As long as he appears, immediately kill him on the spot. What? You're only a 1st-level emperor, and you want to fight a 5th-level emperor undying beast king alone? Yi Xian rolled his eyes and rudely retorted the green ox. Chapter 4301. With your current marquee cultivation, you won't be able to interfere in this battle at all. After making his decision, Yi Xian turned around and swept his gaze towards the elephant fox mink. His expression turned solemn as he continued. Moreover, that 5-colored deer is a 5th-order king. Its divine perception and divine sense are both extremely powerful. If I were to leave you outside, I'm afraid that the heavens would be exposed. Whoosh! As he spoke, Yi Xian waved his hand and directly summoned the farmer god cauldron from his body. Of course, it was in a miniature form. Otherwise, the deep canyon where the 3 of them were hiding would not be able to contain it at all. Even the planet might explode from the pressure. Go in and hide for a few days. If you have nothing to do, go into seclusion and cultivate. After he finished speaking, Yi Xian waved his hand and an invisible force instantly swept up the elephantine's body. It transformed into a purple light and shot into the mouth of the Shunknown cauldron that was filled with 9-colored fog, disappearing without a trace. Boss, are we leaving now? As Yi Xian waved his hand again and stored the farmer god cauldron into his undying world, the green ox's eyes immediately lit up as it excitedly spun around on the spot. Yi Xian nodded and didn't say anything else. His figure flashed and landed on the back of the green ox. After sitting down cross-legged, he directly activated the spirit core that was suspended above the sea of consciousness in his mind, activated the 9th level of spirit energy, and executed a perfect vibration to connect himself and the green ox. His figure was perfectly restrained. Moo! Under the continuous effect of the perfect vibration, no aura would spread out, let alone sound. The green ox wantonly raised its head and let out a heaven-shaking moo. Following that, it stomped on the ground and its body turned into a faint, invisible green light. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared from the planet. He rushed out of the abandoned planet and shot toward the void on his right. The divine sense of a Regis powerhouse, when spread out in all directions, could instantly envelop the vast void of the universe within a radius of 100 million miles. This was only for ordinary Regis powerhouses. If it was a half-step emperor at the peak of rank 9, then once their powerful divine sense was spread out, it would instantly envelop the vast star field within a radius of 400 to 500 million miles. Therefore, Yi Xian chose the location of the ambush this time to be about 300 million miles away from the right side of the forbidden area of the beaming forbidden area. From the right side of the forbidden area to the center of the forbidden area where the two copper behemoths resided, there was still a distance of 200 million miles. In total, the location of the ambush was close to 500 million miles away from the nest of the two half-step emperors. As a result, as long as they didn't deliberately extend their divine sense to the right, even if they extended it in all directions, they wouldn't be able to detect what was happening at the ambush site. As for the five-colored deer, its cultivation was only at the 5th level of the titled King realm. Although it could condense its divine sense and extend it in a single direction, it could still transmit it to the void of the universe that was 500 million kilometers away. However, Yi Xian obviously wouldn't give it this opportunity. A half-step Emperor Realm 9th level titled Emperor would have no problem killing a 5th level titled Emperor if he was caught off guard. It was a sure win situation. In less than a day, the Green Ox and Yi Xian had already arrived at the space 300 million miles away from the right side of the forbidden area of the beaming forbidden area. They purposely chose a more remote area, between two abandoned stars that were separated by 1,000,000 miles. Within Chen, he went into hibernation. What they had to do next was to wait quietly. After a full 29 days, in the distant space in front of them, a colorful cloud finally floated over. Above the colorful cloud was a starry sky deer that was only 1,000 feet long. Its entire body was mottled, and its skin was colorful. Its expression was cold and extraordinary, and it had an otherworldly aura. It was the 5-colored deer from the forbidden area of the beaming forbidden area. Seeing the appearance of the main character, Yi Xian was surprised to discover that this lonely and arrogant starry sky deer was actually a female deer. Thinking of this, Yi Xian's heart skipped a beat. He subconsciously glanced at the abandoned star where the Green Ox was hiding 1,000,000 miles away. He faintly felt a sense of unease and apprehension. This 5-colored deer with a cold and arrogant aura, no matter how one looked at it, it had a bit of otherworldly beauty, and it was even a female. Although deer and cattle were not of the same species, the old green bull had never been too particular about this. Furthermore, although they were of different breeds, deer and cows were at least the same. They were all 4-legged creatures with horns on their heads. Under this kind of temperament, the Green Ox might not be able to control itself. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that this was the case. Yi Xian's eyelids suddenly twitched, and he felt that something was going to happen. The old ox was too unreliable, and he could not be at ease. Moo! Sister Lu in front, can I have a word with you? Just as Yi Xian was worried, the starry sky deer that was riding on the 5-colored cloud was already 1,000,000 miles away. It just so happened to pass by the abandoned star where the Green Ox was hiding. Before Yi Xian could react, a clear cadence of moos sounded from the interior of the abandoned star, revealing a strong sense of coquettish love. Following that was the ravings of the Green Ox, that old fogey. Meeting in the starry sky is fate. Come, 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 if you pledge your life to me, this old ox will give you a good fortune. Screech! The starry sky deer's figure suddenly stopped, and it turned its head to look inside the star in shock. When it saw that it was actually an old ox that was only a 1st-level titled king teasing it, it was immediately enraged. It raised its head and roared, then charged into the star. Damn old thing, you dropped the ball at the critical moment and almost ruined everything. Seeing that the starry sky deer did not immediately contact the behemoth forbidden land, Yi Xian broke out in a cold sweat. His expression darkened as he cursed, and his figure instantly rushed out. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in the void of the universe outside the star. He raised his head and roared. Roar! 9 devil ape transformations. 6th transformation. In the next moment, as this wild roar sounded, the terrifying power in his body instantly churned violently. His originally 30-meter-tall body expanded at an incomparably terrifying speed like a star exploding, including the cultivation that was emitted from his body. His aura was the same. Originally, the starry sky violent ape, which was only 100 feet tall, emitted a cultivation aura of a third-level Emperor Immortal. However, at this moment, as he directly used the sixth transformation of the 9 Devil Ape Transformations bloodline ability, his body expanded explosively. Furthermore, it was climbing at an extremely fast speed that made one's hair stand on end. In less than a breath of time, when the explosive aura finally stabilized, the aura emitted from Yi Xian's body had clearly reached the shocking perfection of the 9th stage of the conferred king realm. In other words, he was a half-step emperor. Chapter 4302. Who are you? Why are you trying to kill me? Suddenly, a space berserk ape as strong as the 2 copper behemoths in the beaming Forbidden Land appeared. It was an Emperor level 9 peak, half-step Emperor level. The 5-color deer was so frightened that it almost collapsed on the spot. He cried out in shock. I am one of the 8 great kings of the beaming Forbidden Land. The beaming Forbidden Land also has half-step emperors, and there are even 2 of them. Fellow Taoist Bao Yuan, don't make a mistake. No matter where you are from, if you dare to kill me, the entire beaming Forbidden Land will fight to the death with you. Screech! At the end of its sentence, the 5-colored deer let out a long and mournful howl. A strand of invisible divine sense condensed into a needle in its body and shot towards the beaming Forbidden Land. He clearly wanted to use this strand of divine sense that had condensed into a needle to break through Yi Xian's pressure and immediately report to the 2 copper behemoths in the Behemoth Forbidden area for help. Dear, it's useless. You're only a 5th-level emperor. Even if you condense your divine sense into a needle, you won't be able to break through my suppression. When it saw this scene, the starry sky violent ape that was enormous like a star shook its head and spoke softly. Before he finished speaking, he raised his hand and pointed gently. The divine sense needle that shot out instantly disintegrated and dissipated completely. Roar! Boom! Rumble! In the next moment, the space violent ape raised its head and roared. Its right fist suddenly swung out like a meteor, causing the void to tremble and shatter inch by inch. An earth-shattering explosion rang out. Countless void turbulences rushed out from the collapsed void of the universe. Each of them was extremely sharp. The green ox that was rushing out of the dormant star ahead let out a strange cry. He swung his tail and immediately had a sad expression on his face. It angrily turned around and fled. Shio shio shio. Screech. Countless sharp sounds of space breaking rang out. In this universe that had been shattered by the punch, a large amount of space turbulence formed space blades that cut countless bloody wounds on the body of the 5-colored deer. Under the intense pain, the 5-colored deer stretched its neck and let out a mournful cry. Its roar was filled with unwillingness. Pang! It's over. In practically the next instant, the violent starry sky ape's enormous fist that was like a meteor smashed right before his eyes, directly landing on the back of the 5-colored deer that was covered in bloody scars. A terrifying force that was boundless to the point of causing one's hair to stand on end surged in, and in less than half a breath of time, the 5-colored deer was completely annihilated. The deer's body exploded. With a boom, it exploded into a blood mist and spread out. Screech! Within the surging boundless bloody mist, a tiny 5-colored blazing light charged out and emitted a vicious howl as it fled in the opposite direction of the Starsky violent ape. Its speed was swift to the point it surpassed the speed of light, and in the blink of an eye, it had already traversed a distance of 25,000 kilometers. Shio! You won't be able to escape. A murmur came out from the mouth of the space violent ape. Before it finished speaking, its huge body had already disappeared from its original spot. In the blink of an eye, it was tens of millions of miles away, just in time to block the path of the tiny 5-color light. Almost at the same time, the raging star ape suddenly opened its bloody mouth, and a terrifying suction force was emitted, directly swallowing the 5-colored light that was shot at it into its stomach. At the same time, 50 million miles away, in the place where even the void had been shattered, the 5-colored deer's body exploded into a majestic blood mist that had just been dispersed by the raging void turbulence, and in an instant, it gathered again and turned into a river of blood shot towards the mouth of the galactic ferocious ape. In just a few short moments, this majestic river of blood that represented all the blood and chi of a 5th-order king realm expert was completely swallowed by the space violent ape, and immediately sent into the Shennon cauldron in its body to start the blood essence refinement. The 5-color deer fell. Its body and soul were destroyed. Swish! As all the blood mist from the explosion of the 5-color deer's body was sucked away, The space where the five-color deer was originally standing in soon began to emit a dense and crisp sound, like the sound of silk being torn apart. Turning around, a vast universe void that was close to 1,000,000 miles in radius was rapidly collapsing, forming a large-scale universe black hole. Moreover, the edges of the black hole were still rapidly radiating in all directions. The black hole that had just formed was precisely because of the power of Yi Xian's previous punch. After shattering a large portion of the void of the universe along the way, it took advantage of the fact that the blood mist had yet to be completely dispersed by the countless spatial turbulence to instantly spread out. The powerful suction force had completely disrupted the structure of the void. A ninth-order King Realm expert was already considered a half-step Emperor Realm expert. If he punched out with all his strength, he could even destroy a small star field. This punch, Yi Xian's target was only the five-color deer. When he punched out, he had already deliberately controlled his strength. Otherwise, the impact on this universe void would be far greater than this. Although the ninth-order King Realm expert was considered a half-step Emperor Realm expert, he was not a true Star Emperor. Only the supreme existence of the Emperor Realm could perfectly control the boundless power in his huge true body, to the point where not a single drop of power leaked out. With a punch, the enemy hundreds of millions of miles away would be destroyed, but the void along the way would not be affected in the slightest. This was something that the current Yi Xian was unable to do. But this time, although the five-color deer was successfully killed, the final result was that the green ox did not follow the plan, leading to the formation of this black hole. Right now, the battle had just ended, and this black hole was already millions of kilometers in radius. Moreover, it was still rapidly spreading to the surroundings. If it was left alone and allowed to continue spreading, it would not be long before a black hole with a diameter of hundreds of millions of kilometers would appear. A gigantic black hole would be completely formed. At that time, not to mention the current Yi Xian, even if a true Emperor Realm expert came, he would not be able to reverse the situation. In the end, it would cause an irreversible impact on this vast and boundless primordial world fragment void. Damn it, I almost caused a big mess. Frowning, the star-violent ape muttered softly. Without hesitation, its body flashed and it was already tens of millions of miles away. Its huge body, which was like a star, stood at the edge of the expanding miniature universe black hole. Shill. Swish. 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 In the next instant, the starry sky violent ape didn't hesitate in the slightest. As its figure moved without end, its arms that were like enormous pillars that could hold up the sky waved without end. Along with numerous extremely sharp sounds that tore through the air, numerous strands of invisible and profound energy shot out violently from its hands. It turned into countless rays of light and shot toward the expanding universe black hole in front of it. The landing points of these mysterious rays of light were all the void nodes that Yi Xian remembered in his heart when the void of the universe collapsed. He wanted to repair the void of the universe that was millions of kilometers away and prevent the black hole from continuing to expand. Chapter 4303. Swish. Swish, swish, swish. In the void, the faint sound of breaking through the air continued to ring out. The starry sky ape's gigantic body, which was like a star, had been circling the void of this universe that was millions of miles in radius. As the ape waved its hands, streaks of light shot out and entered the black hole that was gradually stabilizing. They rebuilt and stabilized the void nodes that had collapsed completely one by one. The entire process lasted for the time it took for an incense stick to burn before it was completely over. The universe's black hole, which had been rapidly spreading outward, had completely stopped, and had begun to slowly condense inwards. Unfortunately, things in the world had always been much more difficult to destroy than to build. Right now, although the universe black hole's outward expansion had been completely suppressed and had even begun to repair itself. However, it would take some time for the universe black hole, which had already reached a radius of 1,000,000 miles, to completely recover and disappear. At this moment, it had already been half an incense stick of time since Yi Xian and the green ox had killed the five-colored deer. The possibility of unexpected changes had increased by countless times. Thinking of this, Yi Xian didn't hesitate any longer. With a thought, he directly withdrew from the sixth transformation of the devil ape. His gigantic body that was like a star returned to its original height of 30 meters in the blink of an eye. He was originally at the peak of the 9th stage of the titled King Realm. He also fell to the 3rd level of the Emperor-conferred realm. At the same time, the large river of blood mist that Yi Xian had sent into the Shenong cauldron to condense the blood essence half an incense stick had just finished condensing, transforming into a blood essence that caused one's hair to stand on end. Swish! With a thought, The blood essence shot out from the Shengnong cauldron and landed in Yi Xian's hands. Including the king blood essence condensed from the flesh and blood of the two vicious birds in the Phoenix Blood Star region, this is already the third king blood essence that I've collected. A light flashed in Yi Xian's eyes as he played with the middle stage king blood essence, and softly muttered, "In this way, half of the 6 king blood essences in my hands are at the middle stage of the king realm. Once we gather them together, we'll be able to gather all of them. Once you have 10 of them, open the furnace and refine the level 23 pellets. When the time comes, the number and grade of the pellets that come out of the furnace will definitely surprise you." At this point, Yi Xian almost could not hold himself back and wanted to refine on the spot. After all, 5 pieces of regal blood essences were enough to start the furnace. He already had 6 pieces of regal blood essences in his hands. But in the end, he forcibly suppressed this impulse. After all, the location was not suitable. Swish! Very quickly, Yi Xian retrieved a small jade bottle and placed the precious king bestowment blood essence into it. Yi Xian flipped his hand and kept the jade bottle into his undying world. His figure flashed, and in the blink of an eye, he was already millions of miles away on an abandoned planet. In the next instant, numerous extremely miserable moos entered his ears, and it was accompanied by the choked-up cries of grief and indignation from the green ox. "Moo! Moo! I just met the true love of my life, and in the blink of an eye, we were separated by life and death. Not even a corpse was left behind, refined into the blood essence of ferocious beasts by evil people. How can I endure this? Moo! I don't want to live anymore." Moo! Hearing these words, Yi Xian was completely speechless. He was dumbstruck as he stared at the green ox that sat on the ground and swung its 4 hooves like a shrew. His entire body felt as if it had been struck by lightning. He was completely stupefied. This old fellow is actually serious? As this thought flashed through his mind, Yi Xian was once again struck by lightning. His expression instantly turned strange, as though he was about to turn green. Although he had heard of love at first sight many times, but, for a cow to meet a deer, what kind of situation was this? Although he could not understand, the green ox in front of him was indeed crying too hard. A dignified regal blood essence expert was actually acting like a shrew, sitting on the ground and shaking its hooves like a shrew. It was obvious that it had suffered a huge blow. Moreover, since it had fallen in love, it was understandable that the green ox did not act according to the plan. It could not help but act. There was a reason for it, so it could be forgiven. With that thought, the anger in Yi Xian's heart instantly dissipated. Looking at the green ox that was crying and throwing a tantrum in front of him, he was completely at a loss. Roar! At this moment, an incomparably shrill roar suddenly sounded from the direction of the beaming forbidden land. This was clearly the angry roar of a regal blood essence expert, and it was not an ordinary ferocious beast king. If nothing unexpected happened, it should be the 2 half-step beasts of the beaming forbidden land. One of the copper behemoths. Damn it, something big almost happened. As his gaze swept over, Yi Xian's expression instantly changed. He no longer hesitated. As he spoke, he suddenly waved his hand. Whoosh! With a piercing sound, an ancient cauldron with a radius of 1,000 feet was summoned from his body. It was the Shengnong treasured cauldron. In the next moment, Yi Xian did not care whether the green ox that had fallen to the ground agreed or not. With a thought, he directly activated the Shengnong cauldron's domain power and put the old fellow who had suddenly become infatuated into the Shengnong cauldron. Immediately after waving his hand to put away the cauldron again, Yi Xian's figure flashed, and he immediately activated the spirit source core that was suspended above the sea of consciousness in his mind. Under the perfect vibration, level 9 spirit power enveloped his entire body, and his 30-meter-tall body of a violent ape disappeared in a blink of an eye. His eyes disappeared, and not a single trace of his aura could be detected. After completing all of this, Yi Xian secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Although the scarlet copper behemoth that let out a sharp howl within the behemoth forbidden area had already realized that something had happened, it was still far away after all. That sharp howl just now was only a warning. By the time his true body arrived, Yi Xian would have already fled far away with his cultivation base. He was not afraid at all. In the next moment, with a thought from Yi Xian, the energy in his body was activated. With a teleportation, his figure, which had long been perfectly concealed by his spirit power, instantly disappeared from the interior of this planet. When he reappeared, He was already tens of millions of kilometers away. However, he did not stop. He only stayed for half a moment before immediately carrying out a second teleportation. Boom! After 10 breaths, an earth-shattering rumbling sound appeared above the abandoned planet where Yi Xian had been standing before he left. The void split open, and a crimson figure that was at least 100,000 feet tall emitted endless red light. It was like a star, causing people to be speechless. The figure that was forced to look at him stepped out of the void crack that had collapsed. The existence that descended was shockingly a copper behemoth. Its body was like a gorilla or an elephant, giving off an incomparably heavy and steady feeling. The cultivation aura that emanated from its body was also incomparably powerful. It was shockingly at the 9th stage of the conferred king realm, which was half a step away. Emperor! At this moment, the copper behemoth came in anger. The conferred king pressure in its body did not retract in the slightest. As soon as its figure descended into this void, under the crushing pressure of its seemingly substantial might, the void in the distance was instantly abandoned one by one. Chapter 4304. Bang! With a light step of his right foot in the air, the abandoned planet that Yi Xian and the Green Ox had stayed on earlier completely collapsed into a cloud of cosmic dust and dissipated. In the next moment, a low voice resounded. It came from the mouth of this 30 kilometers tall copper behemoth that was dazzling like a star, and it was filled with boundless rage. To be able to kill the 5-colored deer in such a short period of time, the person who did this is definitely a late-stage king. At least at the 7th stage of this realm, and it might even be an 8th or 9th stage king. Besides that, there's clearly an extremely obscure aura of a primeval treasure left in the void. It's extremely special and absolutely isn't an ordinary primeval treasure. Its level should be an era artifact. The Farmer God Cauldron. It's definitely the Farmer God Cauldron. Not long ago, the 2 ferocious birds of Phoenix Bloodstar region sent out an army of ferocious beasts to search for the Farmer God Cauldron in secret. This is definitely not a coincidence. No one can take away such a precious treasure. It's destined to be mine. No matter who the person is, where they come from, or what their objective is, you can't escape this time. Roar! With a final furious roar, this 30 kilometers tall copper behemoth shrunk its body to around 300 m tall. Moreover, the dazzling red light that was like a star that emanated from its body was completely restrained, and it became inconspicuous in the slightest. After that, its figure flashed, and it was already 5 million kilometers away in the blink of an eye. It didn't stop at all and continued on its way. This direction was exactly the opposite of the behemoth forbidden area that it had come from earlier. Obviously, this copper behemoth was just like the 2 late-stage king ferocious birds of Phoenix Blood forbidden area. After realizing that the primeval artifact, the Farmer God Cauldron, had appeared, it couldn't help but covet it. The only difference was that the 2 ferocious birds of Phoenix Blood forbidden area had only sent out their army of ferocious beasts to spread out and search for clues in secret. But this copper behemoth was different. After it found out that the primeval artifact, the Farmer God Cauldron, had appeared and that its owner was roaming around the star regions around the behemoth forbidden area, it didn't even inform the other behemoth in the behemoth forbidden area. It restrained its aura and left in the blink of an eye. This was clearly the rhythm of wanting to take the first place, and had no intention of sharing it with others. If all of this was known by Yi Xian, it was unknown how he would feel. Because as the actions of this red copper behemoth unfolded, the behemoth forbidden land, which originally had 2 half-step emperors guarding it, now had the highest combat strength. Half of it was gone. Swish! There was a faint sound of something breaking through the air. Yi Xian, who had concealed all of his aura with a perfect vibration, appeared in a rather desolate space in the universe. This place was only slightly more than 10 million miles away from the edge of the beaming forbidden land. However, it was in another direction. 2 days ago, after successfully intercepting and killing the 5-colored deer and hurriedly leaving with the green ox, Yi Xian didn't go far. Instead, he circled around the edge of the behemoth forbidden area from hundreds of millions of kilometers away and arrived in another direction. Everyone knew the principle of darkness under the light, but when the matter really came to them, not everyone could immediately realize this point. Moreover, the forbidden grounds of the Beaming clan were so vast, and the void at the edge of the area was incomparably long. Even if the 2 red copper behemoths thought of this, they would not be able to spread out the entire void border of the forbidden grounds of the Beaming clan in a short period of time. Investigate. Therefore, Yi Xian did not feel any pressure at all. After his figure appeared, he directly rushed into an abandoned planet not far away. In a deep valley, he personally opened a cave abode and hid there. Considering that this place was very close to the forbidden grounds of the Beaming clan, only slightly more than 10 million miles away, and that the green ox that he had put into the Shennon cauldron 2 days ago seemed to be in a bad state, if he was released, he would immediately howl a few times in grief. He was afraid that he would be spoiled on the spot. Therefore, after pondering for a while, Yi Xian decided to ignore that old fellow and hide here for the time being. He would see what was going on in the forbidden grounds of the Beaming clan and decide on the next step of the plan before considering it again. However, before that, he had one more thing to do immediately, and that was to search the remnant soul of the five-colored deer. Although Yi Xian had already searched the soul once to understand the specific situation in the forbidden grounds of the Beaming clan, the target of the soul search was only an ordinary immortal. The secrets of the forbidden grounds that ordinary immortals knew were naturally far from being comparable to the five-colored deer, a Class 5 ferocious beast king. The value of the information that the two represented was completely different. With a thought, the soul search was activated, and it was completed in a few short breaths. Yi Xian's expression suddenly changed at this moment, and he fell into a gloomy mood. This soul search had a major discovery that made his expression change, and a strong sense of uneasiness faintly rose in his heart. That uneasiness came from the netherworld furnace. All along, the netherworld furnace had always been a synonym of inauspiciousness in Yi Xian's mind. After all, the one who controlled the netherworld furnace was the heaven's eye of the wilderness, and Yi Xian was now on the same side as the headless infant corpse, and could be said to be at odds with the primeval heaven's eye. Fire and fire were incompatible. To him, encountering the netherworld furnace was naturally not something to be happy about. However, the netherworld furnace did not appear in the nearby star regions. Although the five-colored deer's remnant soul contained information related to the netherworld furnace, it had never seen it with its own eyes. In fact, even the five-colored deer had only recently learned of the existence of the netherworld furnace. This time, the reason why it left the forbidden grounds of the Beaming clan was to visit a friend in the immortal Jade Forbidden Grounds that was tens of billions of miles away. It was during this visit that the five-colored deer inadvertently learned about the netherworld furnace. In addition to the whereabouts of the netherworld furnace, Yi Xian also obtained a large amount of information that was extremely important to him from the remnant soul of the five-colored deer. It was all related to this void fragment of the wilderness. After all, the five-colored deer was a mid-stage king, and its information was far from what the green ox could compare to. Through its remnant soul, Yi Xian finally had a certain degree of understanding of this void fragment of the wilderness. Of course, when Yi Xian killed the two mid-stage ferocious birds in the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood, he also had the chance to search their souls. However, at that time, with his cultivation base and strength, he did not have the time to care too much when facing two mid-stage king-conferred realm experts at the same time. He only wanted to smoothly kill his target as expected. As such, after the battle, the four king beasts of the forbidden land of Phoenix Blood did not leave behind a single wisp of remnant soul. Naturally, it was impossible to search their souls. A large-scale forbidden ground in space. The netherworld furnace is actually a large-scale forbidden ground in space. Analyzing the various information obtained from the remnant soul of the five-colored deer, Yi Xian muttered softly. His entire heart had sunk to the bottom of the valley. A large-scale forbidden ground in space must have at least one emperor-level undying overseeing it. The netherworld furnace is of the same level as the Shennon cauldron. Chapter 4305. The void of this chaos fragment was incomparably vast. Before performing the soul search on the remnant soul of the five-colored deer, Yi Xian only knew of 3 mid-level forbidden areas with emperor-level powerhouses: Phoenix Blood Forbidden Area, Behemoth Forbidden Area, and the Xianqiong Forbidden Area where the five-colored deer went to visit a friend. However, there was not a single large-scale forbidden area that was guarded by a titled monarch at a higher level. As for the higher-level forbidden areas with emperor-level powerhouses, needless to say, he had never heard of them for the time being. And now, after completing this soul search, the amount of information Yi Xian had in this regard had skyrocketed. If the vast void of the galaxy known to the five-colored deer was drawn into a starfield map, then the Phoenix Blood Forbidden Area, Behemoth Forbidden Area, and Xianqiong Forbidden Area that Yi Xian had previously known of, formed a triangle. These 3 forbidden areas were the 3 points of the triangle. Around the edges of this huge triangle, there were 2 mid-level forbidden areas and 2 mid-level remnant starfields. There was even a large-scale forbidden area in the starry sky, and a large-scale remnant star field in the starry sky. As for the top-level forbidden area and the top-level remnant star field with Emperor-level powerhouses, even in the remnant soul of the five-colored deer, there was no information related to this. Perhaps a power of this level only existed in the distant void of the universe around this enormous triangle. At least for now, Yi Xian didn't need to pay attention to it at all, because it was too far away. With his current cultivation, in a short period of time, even if he did, he could not go there. In fact, with Yi Xian's current cultivation strength, even if he used the 6th transformation of the 9 transformation demonic ape bloodline ability, he was only at the peak of the 9th level of Emperor level. Not to mention the top-grade Starry Sky Forbidden Grounds and the top-grade Remnant Starfield that were guarded by Emperor Realm Masters, he didn't even dare to casually enter these two large-scale Starry Sky Forbidden Grounds and Remnant Starfield that were guarded by Emperor Realm Masters. After all, in such a large-scale Forbidden Area and Remnant Starfield, it was absolutely impossible for there to be only one Emperor-level powerhouse. If he entered without permission and was blocked by 2 or 3 Emperor-level powerhouses at the same time, even he might suffer a tragic fate. Those were Emperor-level powerhouses, they could have any means. If one of them could crack his interstellar coordinate jump ability, then Yi Xian would really have to lie low. Unless the headless infant corpse, who had not made any movements recently, made a move, the situation would be extremely difficult and dangerous. The two large forbidden areas in the starry sky and the tribe of the survivors, which were guarded by emperors, happened to be located in different directions of the starry sky triangle. One on the left and the other on the right, separated by an endless void, were facing each other from a distance. The large-scale forbidden area of the starry sky on the left was called the Rising Forbidden Area, and the netherworld furnace had not been subdued yet. The remnant star field on the right side of the Behemoth Forbidden Area and Xianqiong Forbidden Area Behemoth Forbidden Area and Xianqiong Forbidden Area. Whether it is the Rising Forbidden Area or the Falling Bull Star Field, I will have to go there soon. After combing through the large amount of information obtained from the soul search, Yi Xian fell into deep thought. As he pondered, he softly muttered to himself, "There's no need to talk about the Rising Sun Forbidden Area. It's impossible for the netherworld furnace to appear in that forbidden area of the starry sky for no reason. There must be some sort of scheme, and this matter is very strange. If I don't personally go over and investigate the specific details, I won't be at ease." As for the Falling Bull Star Field in the hands of the Remnant of the Antiquity, it is the largest settlement of the Remnant of the Antiquity that I know since I entered the Void Fragment of the Antiquity. There is even more than one Emperor-level powerhouse guarding it. The Remnant tribe of this level must have a more advanced alchemy method in their hands, at least it is not comparable to the Remnant of the Antiquity on the mulberry tree. If I can get it, the effect of the medicine refined from it will be better. It is very significant. It must not be missed. It seems that the Behemoth Forbidden Area in front of me must be solved as soon as possible. Otherwise, the trip to the Rising Forbidden Area and the Falling Bull Star Field will be greatly delayed because of this. The sudden appearance of the netherworld furnace is very likely to mean that the primeval heaven's eye has begun to pay attention to this fragment of the void fragment. Time is more and more pressing, and the time when the antiquity world will fully descend seems to be getting closer and closer. So, the exploration of these two large-scale forbidden areas and the remnant starfield must not be delayed any longer. Speaking of this, Yi Xian's eyes flashed coldly, and he subconsciously clenched his fists. So, I can only force a breakthrough again. Although the battle with the five-colored deer earlier could not be considered as satisfying and was unable to completely solidify my somewhat unstable state of mind. However, there is still some effect in the end. If I were to accumulate a large amount of top-grade cultivation resources and forcefully attempt to break through, it would not be impossible for me to successfully break through. As long as I can successfully break through one more minor level, and unleash the 6th transformation of the 9 demonic ape transformations bloodline ability, my battle prowess at the pinnacle of the 9th level of the Peerless Monarch Realm will instantly reach unprecedented heights. First level Monarch Realm. In this way, even if the two half-step emperors in the Behemoth Forbidden Area join forces at the same time, they will not be able to defeat me. At most, it will take some time to fight, but in the end, I will be able to completely suppress them. After this matter is over. After finding the treasure body of Zixia Fairy's previous life, I can immediately leave and set off for the Rising Sun Forbidden Area. After making the decision, Yi Xian did not hesitate anymore, and immediately sneaked into the core of the star under his feet, waving his hand to set up layers of restrictions. Xiao! Xiao xiao xiao! Following that, as he waved his hand, A large number of faint sounds of breaking through the air rang out, and various top cultivation resources were taken out from the undying world in his body, including the purple gold top-grade flesh medicine, the all-evil elixir, and other rare top-grade treasures and medicines, and so on. Of course, this time, among the resources he had prepared for his breakthrough, there was also a large piece of flesh and blood of a quasi-desolation almighty prehistoric creature. It was roasted into a golden color by the Shunnong seven-colored flame, dripping with oil and emitting a fragrant aroma. After everything was done, Yi Xian activated the power of the Shunnong cauldron in his body. Under the suppression of the power of the Shunnong cauldron's domain, all the cultivation resources floating in front of him turned into a small round bead in the blink of an eye, and was swallowed into his stomach by Yi Xian. The small blood-red bead entered his mouth, and instantly turned into a warm current that flowed down his throat into his stomach, rushing to his limbs and bones. Walala. Boom! Chapter 4306. Walala. Rumble. This time, Yi Xian's breakthrough was extremely difficult. It wasn't as fast and smooth as before. Obviously, this was because his mental state wasn't stable yet, so he had to grit his teeth and force the breakthrough. After swallowing all the resources, his body seemed to have been turned upside down. The loud clanking sound of the chains didn't stop for even a second. The blazing river of energy flowed along the 100 meridians in his body, continuously shaking the newly appeared shackles. Boundless intense pain assaulted him, not stopping for a moment. After an unknown amount of time, finally, an earth-shattering sound of chains rang out, followed by an incomparably crisp sound of metal clashing. This time, it broke through the shackles of the human body's potential that appeared in Yi Xian's body. Finally it broke. In the next instant, the familiar system notification resounded in his head. A wave of clarity washed over him. His mind, which had been tormented by the immense pain, instantly recovered. Ding! Congratulations to the host. Ancient cave void scripture has broken through. Current realm. Emperor level 3. Ding! Congratulations to the host. Body blood chi has broken through. Current realm. Emperor level 3. Before this, Yi Xian's original body had already reached the second level of the immortal emperor. Once he activated the three-headed, six-armed ancient demon ape bloodline, his strength would soar to the third level of the immortal emperor. If he used the 9 transformation of the demonic ape and reached the 6th transformation, he would instantly reach the peak of Emperor level 9. But now, with his cultivation strength breaking through again, once he activated the demonic ape bloodline in his body and entered the 6th transformation of the 9 transformations of the demonic ape, his peak battle strength would be able to break through the Emperor realm in an instant. Emperor level 1, the increase in strength would make one's hair stand on end. Fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. I finally broke through. Opening his eyes, Yi Xian's face revealed a relieved expression. He muttered to himself, and his body, which was originally sitting cross-legged in the core of the star, disappeared in the blink of an eye. Half an instant later, he reappeared in a remote space tens of millions of li away, far away from the Bai Meng forbidden area. 9 Demon Ape Transformation. 6th Transformation. With a roar, the energy in Yi Xian's body surged like a raging river, rolling through his limbs and bones. A majestic and terrifying qi and blood gushed out from his body. His body, which was originally only 10 feet tall, was like a balloon that was being blown up at an extremely fast speed, rapidly expanding. In less than 3 breaths, he had reached 10 million zhang tall, like a human-shaped star. At the same time, Yi Xian's cultivation level skyrocketed as well. Previously, when he was in his devil ape true body state, the aura he emitted was only at the 4th level of the immortal emperor stage. Right now, when his enormous body appeared, the aura surging within Yi Xian's body had shockingly reached the terrifying 1st level of the titled emperor stage. Not to mention the fact that Huang Xiaolong's blood essence was so powerful that it could cause one to vomit blood. An average first-order emperor wouldn't be a match for him. Roar! He raised his head and roared, causing the stars in the surrounding space to instantly tremble. With this roar, Yi Xian didn't use the power within his body. Just the shockwave from his roar alone had such terrifying power. With luck in his heart, he subconsciously turned his head to look at a certain part of the cosmic void hundreds of millions of miles away. His gaze locked onto an abandoned planet. Without moving, he punched out. Boom! Almost in the next instant, in the void of the universe 100 million miles away, an earth-shattering explosion rang out. The abandoned planet that his gaze had locked onto exploded into dust without any suspense. However, the void of the universe along the way did not react at all. It was completely unaffected. Emperor-level experts were able to perfectly control the energy in their body. Even if they punched out from a long distance away, the void along the way would be unaffected, but the target far away would have to bear the full force of the punch in an instant. In the battle not long ago, when Yi Xian killed the 5 colors deer with a single punch, he couldn't do this. When he punched out, the void along the way would shatter inch by inch. Although the momentum seemed more powerful, in reality, the strength of this punch would dissipate along the way. Quite a bit. Now, this punch could be considered to be truly perfect. The void was not affected, and all of the power was used on the blade. After entering Emperor level, Yi Xian's divine sense had increased tremendously. Not only was the range of his divine sense extended, but its concealment had also increased. And now, once he released his divine sense, even Emperor-level experts wouldn't be able to detect it, unless they were at the peak of Emperor level 9, or half-step Emperor level. In fact, although half-step Emperor-level experts could sense the divine sense of an Emperor-level expert, it was limited to that. If they wanted to trace the origin of the divine sense, they couldn't do it. As such, Yi Xian no longer had any worries. After pondering for a moment, he didn't delay any longer and immediately extended his divine sense with all his strength. In an instant, it enveloped the entire behemoth forbidden area, and everything in this medium-sized forbidden area of space. No matter how big or small, everything was recorded in his mind. In the behemoth forbidden area, there were originally 8 ferocious beast kings. One of them was at the early stage of Emperor level and the other was at the middle stage of Emperor level. The latter had been killed by Yi Xian, and the former, when he probed at this moment, he discovered that he had actually returned to the behemoth forbidden area. As such, with the return of this early conferred king, there should be a total of 7 conferred kings in the behemoth forbidden area. However, in reality, when Yi Xian used his divine sense to investigate, he only captured 6 conferred kings' auras. One was at the peak of 9th stage Emperor level, which was half-step Emperor level. This was clearly one of the 2 copper behemoths. As for the other 5, 3 were at the early stage of Emperor level, and 2 were at the middle stage of Emperor level. Only the other half-step Emperor level copper behemoth was missing. Could it be that the copper behemoth that roared and rushed over when it sensed that the 5-colored deer was attacked did not return? Slightly stunned, Yi Xian muttered softly. A flash of inspiration flashed through his mind, and he instantly understood. If there are no accidents, that half-step Emperor-level copper behemoth should be in the vast universe void around the behemoth forbidden area right now. Start searching. Although this Star Master successfully escaped with that old fool green ox, he had no choice but to use the Shennon cauldron at that time. With his half-step Emperor-level cultivation, it shouldn't be too difficult to capture a wisp of the aura of the Shennon cauldron from the void. At this point, Yi Xian's eyes flashed, and a faint murderous intent burst out of his body. He actually wants to secretly search the void and assassinate this Star Master. If that's the case, then there's no need to be polite. Chapter 4307. At this time, 2 days had passed since Yi Xian had killed the 5-colored deer. The copper behemoth that had roared furiously and left in pursuit had indeed never returned. It didn't even report back to the behemoth forbidden land what it had discovered after rushing over. His goal was to monopolize the farmer god cauldron by himself, however. With such a big thing happening, it was impossible for the beaming forbidden land to not react at all. As early as half a day after the battle, the disappearance of the 5-color scattered deer had already spread throughout the entire forbidden land. In these 2 days, the countless beasts in the beaming forbidden land did not have a good time. After all, the 5 colors vanishing deer was a 5th-rank king. Such a powerful existence was killed without any reason, and it did not even have the time to send out a call for help. This alone was enough to prove the strength of the person who intercepted them. Even if this person wasn't an Emperor level 9 peak, he was at least a half-step Emperor level. He was at least a Queen level 7. Such a powerful late-stage king had suddenly appeared, and not only was he hostile to the Forbidden Meng land, his methods were so strange and mysterious. All of this made all the ferocious beasts in the Forbidden Meng land worried. For a moment, the entire behemoth forbidden land was covered in a layer of invisible suppressive aura. As for the 6 emperors within, other than the 3 early emperors who were worried, even the 2 mid-emperors who were similar in strength to the deer weren't too worried. The fact that the attacker was hiding his face meant that he had not reached the peak of the 9th level titled Emperor realm. He was still wary of the two half-step-titled Emperor Realm Copper Behemoths in the beaming Forbidden Land. In this way, as long as they didn't go out alone and stayed far away from the beaming Forbidden Land, they would be able to rest easy. No matter how cunning this person was, facing a half-step emperor who was constantly searching for him, it wouldn't be long before his whereabouts were exposed. At that time, the red copper behemoth that was frantically searching in the surrounding void outside the forbidden area would definitely be able to find him. Behead. When Yi Xian's divine sense surged in from outside the behemoth forbidden grounds, instantly enveloping the entire forbidden grounds and taking in everything in his mind. Not only did none of the ferocious beasts in the forbidden grounds notice anything, but even the 5 ferocious beasts. The novice and intermediate feral kings were completely clueless as well. Only the other copper behemoth, who was guarding a giant star in the central star field of the forbidden area, felt its hair stand on end. It was so shocked that it rushed out of its nest on the spot. Roar! Emperor! It's actually an emperor. After a furious roar, the copper behemoth let out a panicked roar that resounded throughout the entire behemoth Forbidden Land. Countless ferocious beasts in the Forbidden Land were alarmed. Some were shocked, some were confused, and some were in a daze. One after another, they came out from the surrounding ocean. The atmosphere of nearly 1,000 stars with life rushed into the void of the universe. The other 5 ferocious beast kings rushed out of the behemoth nest at the first moment. Their faces were filled with horror, and their bodies trembled as they shot toward the copper behemoth in the void of the central domain of the forbidden grounds. One of them was a star bloodlion, while the other was a black beetle race. Both of them were middle-stage emperors. As for the other 3 early-stage emperors, one was a star berserk ape, one was a 3-legged black crow, and the last one was a soft-bodied reptile. Its entire body was green, and it looked extremely uncomfortable. Who knew what kind of bloodline it was? The bug race. Although the 5 ferocious beast kings were alarmed, they didn't feel Yi Xian's divine sense surging toward them. That alone was enough to prove that the copper behemoth's roar was unmistakable. The intruder was indeed a true emperor, and he was so powerful that they couldn't sense him even when he spread his divine sense without restraint. Damn it! Who was the one who said that the one who killed Willful Deer is at most a late-stage emperor? This is a real peerless emperor. This is very strange. Within 100 billion miles, only the Forbidden Land of Rising Sun and the Crouching Bull Galaxy have peerless emperors. However, the Forbidden Land of Beaming has no conflicts with them. If this peerless emperor is from one of these 2 places, why didn't he say anything? Kill him. If he isn't from one of these 2 places, where could this emperor be from? Roar! Before the ferocious beast kings could finish speaking, a furious roar that shook the heavens suddenly rang out from outside the beaming Forbidden Land. Before the person had even arrived, an ordinary roar had already caused the countless stars and planets in the beaming Forbidden Land to explode. It had shaken them to the point that they trembled slightly. The countless ferocious beasts of the forbidden grounds that rushed out of the stars all went limp at almost the same time, collapsing in the void of the universe. Even the 5 feral kings who were exclaiming just now were shuddering subconsciously as if out of conditioned reflex. Only the red copper behemoth, known as the half-step emperor, could barely resist the emperor's aura that suddenly descended and did not show any signs of distress. Even so, the crimson eyes on its colossal body were glinting with a dark light as well, revealing a sense of guilt. He had the intention of dodging to the extreme. As the roar that contained boundless might resounded, a terrifying figure that was 10 million feet tall like a small star entered the behemoth star region from the void of the universe 100 million miles away in a flash. In the next instant, the gazes of the countless ferocious beasts in the beaming forbidden area converged onto the starry sky ferocious ape that was one of the 6 great kings. Because this emperor realm existence that had suddenly descended was shockingly a starry sky ferocious ape as well. At the sight, the starry sky bloodlion, the 3-legged black crow, and the other ferocious beast kings of the behemoth Forbidden Land clearly misunderstood. As a bright light flashed in their eyes, they immediately tried to persuade the starry sky ape beside them. What's going on, ape? Is this senior your father? Or your grandfather? The way I see it, he's most likely this fellow's ancestor. You're not being honest, kid. When did you escape from your clan? Now that you've finally been caught, it's obvious that we're going to be dragged into this as well. Hurry up and apologize to your ancestor. We're a family after all, and there's nothing to hide. Otherwise, you're going to get us all killed. In the face of all this, the starry sky ape, who was only a level 1 Regis Emperor and had only broken through to Regis Emperor in the last few decades, was completely dumbfounded. At this very moment, his entire mind was blank and buzzing as he stared at Yi Xian, who was striding toward him from afar. After a few breaths, he finally uttered a complete sentence. "Everyone, this old ape also wishes to have such a powerful ancestor." What a powerful ancestor. But the problem is, I don't know this man either. Roar. Rumble. Chapter 4308. Boom! As Yi Xian punched out, almost in the next instant, the central star region of the beaming Forbidden Land, which was almost 100 million miles away from him, seemed to respond to his punch, and an earth-shattering explosion was heard. The power of this punch was almost perfectly controlled, and when the punch was thrown out, the universe void that was hundreds of millions of miles away was not affected at all. Countless large and small stars and the ferocious beasts that were paralyzed on the ground in the void did not lose a single strand of hair. However, nearly 100 million miles away, at the location where the earth-shattering explosion came from, the enormous body of the starry sky berserk ape, which was still in a daze, suddenly exploded without any delay. Precious blood illuminated the starry sky. It was just one punch, and in less than half a breath, a level 1 undying emperor was completely blown into a cloud of blood mist, and its body and soul were completely destroyed. Whoosh! As the huge body of the starry sky berserk ape exploded, an invisible suction force appeared where it was, and instantly wrapped up the spreading blood mist like a river of blood, shooting towards the mouth of the starry sky berserk ape that was hundreds of millions of miles away. Go! At this moment, the entire beaming Forbidden Land was dead silent, and all the ferocious beasts in the Forbidden Land widened their eyes in shock, as if they were in a dream, and did not dare to believe the reality in front of them. Just a moment ago, all the ferocious beasts thought that this starry sky berserk ape that suddenly descended was the elder of the level 1 berserk ape in the Forbidden Land. However, just as this thought appeared in their minds, the other party had already blown the level 1 berserk ape into a cloud of blood mist from hundreds of millions of miles away without saying anything, and its body and soul were destroyed. How was this an elder of the tribe? This was clearly a murderous god that had a blood feud with the beaming Forbidden Land. While they were stunned, the star blood lion, the three-legged black crow, and the other ferocious beast kings of the beaming Forbidden Land were stunned for a moment, and after that, they immediately retreated and at the same time exclaimed loudly. "Damn it, what did that berserk ape do? He actually provoked the elders of the clan to such an extent. This is clearly the rhythm of a cleansing of the clan. Not good, not good. Look at the killing intent bursting out from his body, and he still hasn't fully expressed it. I'm afraid he didn't just kill the ferocious ape. The wilted deer from before is clear proof. We've been caught in the crossfire and are going to suffer together with him. Senior, the beaming Forbidden Land has no enmity with you. Let's talk nicely. Don't be rash. It's useless. The killing intent is too strong. Either we scatter and flee, or we join forces to fight." Before he could finish speaking, the giant emperor ape that was 50 million kilometers away had already swallowed the river of blood mist into its stomach. Without the slightest hesitation, it raised its right arm that it had just put down and punched out again in the blink of an eye. Boom! Another earth-shattering explosion rang out. Among the 5 great kings, the entire body of the insect race king, whose bloodline was unknown, instantly exploded, turning into a blood-green mist. Before it could disperse, it had already been sucked in by an invisible force. Just like before, he shot off into the distance. In a flash, he was swallowed into the stomach of the Emperor Violent Ape. At this point, the Emperor Violent Ape had only arrived in the beaming star domain for less than 3 breaths of time. It had only attacked twice, and both were simple punches. However, in the beaming Forbidden Land, 2 ferocious beast kings had already completely fallen. Of the 6 ferocious beast kings, only 4 remained. The red copper behemoth, the star blood lion, the three-legged black crow, and the black shell insect race. Roar! Violent Ape, you've gone too far. Everything happened too quickly. In less than 3 breaths of time, 2 of the 6 great kings had already fallen. Only at this moment did this copper behemoth, whose cultivation was the strongest, finally come to its senses. It raised its head and roared furiously, and at the same time it roared loudly. As it roared, its enormous true body, which was tens of thousands of feet tall, rapidly expanded like a balloon at a speed that was difficult to see with the naked eye. In less than 2 breaths of time, the red copper behemoth's body had already reached 5 million feet tall. Compared to the Emperor Violent Ape, which was 10 million feet tall, it was only one size smaller. Obviously, this red copper behemoth's bloodline also inherited some kind of innate divine ability that could rapidly stimulate the blood and chi in its body, causing its bloodline true body to rapidly expand. However, every time Yi Xian's 9 Devil Ape transformation bloodline divine ability was activated, his body would increase by 10 times, and his cultivation strength would also increase by a small level. However, this red copper behemoth's bloodline true body had increased from about 100,000 feet to 5 million feet in just 2 breaths of time. Its blood and chi power had increased too much, but the cultivation aura emitted from its body was still at the 9th level of the Emperor Immortal Realm. Great perfection. Just from this point alone, it could be seen that the innate divine ability of the red copper behemoth's bloodline was not just a little bit inferior to the 9 Devil Ape transformation that Yi Xian had mastered. However, no matter how inferior it was, its current size had reached 5 million feet. Although its cultivation strength had not changed, the blood and chi power in its body had skyrocketed to a terrifying level. Without a doubt, this fellow was definitely more difficult to deal with than before. Its blood and chi were too vigorous. It was probably comparable to an undying cockroach. Seeing this scene, Yi Xian did not hesitate at all. He snorted coldly and directly threw the third punch. The powerful force firmly locked onto the red copper behemoth that was not much smaller than him from tens of millions of miles away. Behemoth! Boom! A woo! An earth-shattering explosion instantly exploded, but this red copper behemoth's huge true body, which was also like a star, was not blown up by the punch because of this. This kind of fierce beast had rough skin and rough flesh, like a yak or a woolly mammoth, and was extremely resistant to beatings. Now, it had activated some kind of innate divine ability inherited in its bloodline, and its body had skyrocketed to 5 million feet. Its blood and chi power was so vigorous that it made people despair. It was even more resistant to beatings. Even the full-strength punch of an emperor expert could not directly kill him. It only hurt him, and he raised his head and howled miserably like a crippled wolf. Seeing this scene, the starry sky bloodlion, the 3-legged black crow, and the black-shelled bug, who were about to turn around and flee, instantly stopped. They exchanged glances and immediately reached a consensus. They moved swiftly to the edge of the red copper behemoth. These 3 fellows had clearly seen hope from this red copper behemoth and decided to stay and take the risk. There was another red copper behemoth of the same level in the behemoth Forbidden Land, and he believed that it would rush back soon. At that time, with these 2 red copper behemoths that could withstand the Emperor's iron fist blocking the nearby area and stalling the Emperor Violent Ape of unknown origin, then, they would wait for an opportunity to make a move. If they found an opportunity to plot against him, they might have a chance to kill the Emperor in this battle. Chapter 4309. As the Crimson Copper Behemoth activated the innate ability inherited in its bloodline, its body instantly expanded from its original size of 100,000 feet to its current size of 50,000 feet. It actually relied on its exuberant vital energy and blood to forcefully resist the starry sky violent ape. It did not die from the full-powered punch, but merely raised its head and howled in rage and pain. The other 3 feral kings who had intended to flee in the void around them paused at once and began to move rapidly around the battlefield. On the one hand, they were waiting for the return of the other demi-emperor behemoth, while on the other hand, they were observing the cosmic berserker ape's weakness in secret so that they could ambush it in the ensuing siege. The benefits of encircling and killing an emperor were too great. In that very moment, all 4 feral kings of the Forbidden Grounds, including the scarlet copper behemoth, were filled with greed. Boom! In the very next instant, the cosmic berserker ape's figure flashed and arrived at another location in the blink of an eye. With a swing of its fist, it directly blasted the black-shelled black beetle a million miles away into a cloud of black-red blood mist. Even before it could spread, it was caught by an invisible suction force and shot into the cosmic berserker ape's bloody maw. In a moment of carelessness, another of the 4 feral kings fell, leaving only 3 left in the blink of an eye. Rawr! Just as the black-red blood mist of the black-shelled black beetle's body was swallowed, the scarlet copper behemoth in the void millions of miles ahead reared its head and bellowed in rage, its body blurring as it shot toward Yi Xian. That fellow was clearly trying to rely on its rough hide to take a few more blows from Yi Xian. As long as it could hold on until the other scarlet copper behemoth arrived, there would be hope for this battle. Look at how smug you are. It's not like this emperor has never abused a fellow with rough hide. What was your cultivation then? Now that I'm an emperor, how could I be stumped by your thick hide? The cosmic berserker ape laughed in its rage at the sight of its opponent's figure darting toward it, while Yi Xian's voice that was clearly filled with disdain and mockery echoed from its bloody maw. Whoosh! Rumble! In the next instant, a weak sound of the air being torn apart rang out, and the raging starry sky ape's enormous body that was like a star disappeared from its original spot in the blink of an eye. When it reappeared, it was already at the right side of the red copper behemoth that was charging head-on, and the distance between them was less than 500,000 kilometers. Moreover, as it teleported closer to the red copper behemoth, an enormous black club clearly appeared in the raging starry sky ape's right hand. The front end was enormous, and the closer it was to the handle, the smaller it became. It was precisely the infamous raging starry sky ape that was once in the origin of all evil star region. The big black staff. The great ancient pestle, the divine, and the ancient god cauldron. And the medicinal pestle as a part of its form. It was of course big. And as to the ancient. As to form and it in time. At this moment, it was taken out by Yi Xian and transformed into the big black staff. Although its appearance had changed, its size had not reached the limit of its original form. The cosmic berserker ape only wanted to make it convenient, so it controlled it to a suitable size. But even so, the big black staff that was held in the hands of the cosmic berserker ape, which was tens of millions of feet tall, was already shocking enough. Its length was much longer than the diameter of a small star. The thickest part of the big black staff was clearly comparable to some larger meteors. Bang! As its figure appeared, the cosmic berserker ape did not hesitate at all. It immediately raised its right arm and swung the big black staff in its right hand high up in the air. It smashed down fiercely, and an earth-shattering bang was instantly heard. A woo! The strength of this strike was not small. After all, it was the full-strength strike of an emperor-level powerhouse. Moreover, it had also borrowed the power of the divine gnome medicinal pestle's domain. Even now, the size of the copper behemoth had skyrocketed to 5 million feet. The chi and blood in its body were so exuberant that it made people's hair stand on end. After being hit so suddenly, a huge bump the size of a meteor appeared on the back of its head. Its body directly staggered in the void and almost fell to the ground on the spot. From its mouth, there was an incomparably mournful howl. Those who heard it would cry, and those who heard it would feel sad. You can't take it anymore? The good show has just begun. After the red copper behemoth was struck by his staff, it let out a miserable howl, but its body came to an abrupt stop. It stopped in the void not far away, and it seemed to be swaying slightly. This was clearly the rhythm of being hit in the head by the staff. Yi Xian was happy in his heart. As he spoke, he did not hesitate anymore. In the blink of an eye, the second staff was raised and smashed down fiercely. Bang! Ah woo! Another earth-shattering sound rang out. This time, the copper behemoth, who was still dizzy from the remaining force of the previous stick, finally couldn't hold on any longer. As it suddenly let out a miserable howl, the huge bag on the back of its head that was like a meteor suddenly appeared. The bag was also bleeding in an instant. The huge figure of 5 million feet staggered forward. After struggling for a distance of 1,000,000 miles, it finally rolled and smashed into a huge abandoned star. Dust rose everywhere. This time, the big-headed black staff in the star-violent ape's hand smashed in the exact same place as the first strike. As the huge blood bump on the back of its head exploded like a meteor, the copper behemoth's consciousness was also completely smashed. At this moment, the huge body smashed into the huge abandoned star 1,000,000 miles away. There was no sound for a few breaths. It was obvious that it was not seriously injured, but fainted. The void fell into dead silence again. This scene happened too quickly. In less than 3 breaths of time, Yi Xian smashed the big-headed black rod twice. In the entire behemoth forbidden area, countless fierce beasts opened their mouths wide as they stared blankly at the cracked big-headed black rod that had been smashed into the ground. The huge abandoned stars all around seemed to have been struck by lightning and were completely petrified. Whoosh! Take advantage of his illness and kill him. After the second strike, Yi Xian didn't stop at all. His body swayed as he teleported once again. In the blink of an eye, he arrived above the giant planet that was filled with dust. Without saying a word, he raised his right arm high into the air, and a cold light flickered in his eyes. The black staff smashed down for the 3rd time. Bang! Boom! Rumble. This time, after the enormous bang that shook the heavens, it was closely followed by continuous rumbling explosions that covered the heavens and the earth. The enormous abandoned star that had already cracked apart completely exploded into countless pieces of rock and soil under the full force strike of the violent starry sky ape. The copper behemoth, who had completely fainted after the second strike, obviously couldn't escape the calamity. Amidst the endless dust that spread out from the explosion of the star, there was clearly a large amount of crimson blood mist.